everyone to the 2017 Belt and Road Summit for International Maker Cooperation. Today is Saturday, September 16, 2017, and we're at the Harvest Valley Casino Finish venue. So, my name is Michael Michelini, and I'm the founder of Global from Asia. I welcome you today to our conference. I'd like to welcome our special guests today. Mr. Wu Yo, the Deputy Secretary General of Shenzhen People's Government. Mr. Ma Ming Gao, Vice President of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. Mr. Zhu Yun, the Director General of Science and Technology Innovation Bureau of the Longgang District. Ms. Shirley Fong, Executive Vice President and Secretary General of SZOIL. Mr. Wu Guo Fong, Chairman of Harvest Valley Casino Finish. Mr. Athar Alzaman, PhD member of the Science and Technology ICT Planning Commission. Mr. Roy Chungai, Project Manager of ICOG Lab. Mr. Lucas Graffan, Lab Explorer of the Maker Tour. Ms. Marie Levoux, Lab Explorer of the Maker Tour. Victor Gustavo Melendez, Lab Manager of Pampero. Rob Wu, CEO of Migo Pod. Celeste Zhang, the Greater China Partnership Lead of Startup Launchpad. Also, special Longgang District Government Departments and a Longgang Sub-District Office. Also, friends and VIP guests of Mr. Wu Guo Fong. Thank you everyone for your attention and attending today's conference. Welcome. And now an address by the Maker representative Victor Gustavo Melendez, Lab Manager of Pampero, Peru.
I want to practice my Chinese. A little bit of Chinese is Da Jia Hao, Ni Men Hao Ma. Victor Freund, well, that's all I can speak in Chinese by now as well. I am industrial designer. I come from a very far country, which is Peru. I know, do you know Peru, the country? Yeah, right? Okay. Which is in South America, no? And I'm really glad to see you and to be here. Actually, I want to thank Mike, the Shenzhen Municipal Government, the Longgang District, the Science Technology Innovation Bureau of Longgang, the Harvest Valley Casino Finish, and the Shenzhen Open Innovation Lab, especially Vicky Xie and Emily, for inviting me to this special event. Actually, I'm representing two places in Peru. The first one is a new innovation laboratory, Marca Peru Lab, from Peru, which is the agency of the Ministry of Foreign Trade and Tourism, responsible for the promotion in exports, tourism, and image. And the second one is a university in Peru, where you can learn industrial design, that is Pontificia Universidad Católica de Peru. Today, we're gathering the most important characters in the world of the makers movement. Today, we're going to learn different aspects as implications and applications of new technologies for the future of humanity here in Shenzhen, the worldwide famous Silicon Valley of hardware. This day, we want you to go home with a simple and clear message. The world and the way of collaboration between countries are changing thanks to the new makers. From my experience, I can say that makers from any kind of field are the main engine in the local production. Makers with the creativity, curiosity, initiative, and perseverance from one side, and fears, challenges, and risks on the other side, are creating these spaces and moments of innovation and entrepreneurship. Boundaries between countries are now turning into an imaginary thing because of the internet. Global connection between makers, startups, students, professors, researchers, kids, adults, everyone is becoming more powerful because of communication and information technologies of this century that actually are becoming cheaper, more accessible, easier to use, so that our minds and souls are expanding, interconnecting feelings, experiences, and knowledge from different contexts. Many of us know how to make customized things using laser cutters, 3D printers, milling machines, electronics, but now we need to take the following step, which is industrial production and the new project development related to cultural and creative industries, where culture, ancient techniques, history, and new technologies mix to turn into a good user experience. I am positive that thanks to China and the Belt and Road countries and regions, we can turn our dreams of making into a reality. Together as countries, we will be able not only to exchange resources, but also to grow as communities, helping each other in order to improve as a society for a better quality of life. This afternoon, we are gathering startups, founders, and leaders from different makerspaces, accelerators, which offer beautiful spaces to grow and improve our projects, labs of innovation and research, and experts in maker movement, not only from Shenzhen, but also from different parts of the world. Today, we can say thank you for participating, for joining us in this adventure of makers' existence, of wondering about the future, our future. We really look forward that you can learn, discuss, question, and generate new links of partnership between each one of you. Everyone can be an innovator, but now we need to be more imaginative, more creative, more connected as countries, and aware of what is happening around us, with new challenges as the climate change, the respect for ancient cultures, and the empathy between each one of us. The future is now, the future is us, the future is Shenzhen and the Belt and Road countries and our makers. So enjoy this day and welcome to this new open innovation ecosystem. So, Fei Chang, how do you say? Fei Chang Kanxie, no? And Wo Ai Meng. No, thank you very much and thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Okay, and now, next we have Mr. Ma Minggao, the Vice President of the Chinese People's Consultative Conference. Welcome.
面临到录音会会上，各位领导、各位嘉宾、女士们、先生们，大家下午好。今天我们下午是这个阳光灿烂，风和日丽啊，是很开心的一天。今天我们相遇在中国美丽的南海之滨深圳龙岗，隆重举行“一带一路”国际创客峰会。这是一次世界创客界的交流盛会，对激发深圳龙岗的创新创业活力具有非凡的意义。受我们 龙岗区委书记和区长的委托。在此，我谨代表龙岗区向各位领导、各位嘉宾、各位创客大咖的到来表示热烈的欢迎和衷心的感谢。深圳是一个富有创新活力的城市，近年来以建设国际科技产业创新中心为目标，最大程度地集合双创资源，激发双创活力，全力打造国际创客之都。龙岗区是深圳的产业大区和经济大区，是深圳创新驱动发展的主战场。在新一轮创新发展的浪潮中，龙岗区加快打造深圳东部创新中心，营造更适宜年轻人创新创业的良好环境。目前，全区拥有各类上市主体超过50万家，国际高新技术企业近1000家，上市和拟上市企业188家，全社会研发投入强度达到10.8%。PCT 国际专利申请量占全市的1/4，聚集了华为、比亚迪等一批龙头创新企业，以及柔宇、艾米尔等行业新秀，多项主要经济指标领跑全市，为新时期大众创业、万众创新奠定了坚实的产业基础和创新优势。全区89.6平方公里，其中我们区889.6平方公里的范围呢，纳入了国家自主创新示范区，这个面积呢占全市的1/4，市级重点发展片区占全市1/4，战略性新兴产业基地占全市的1/5，现有全市首个未来产业园和36个创新型系列园区，为创新创业提供了充足的空间保障。香港中文大学这个深圳就在我们这条路啊，挨南路往前走一点就可以看，已有在校生是2000人，特别是我们9月13号开学的北理博斯科大学是完成了第1届招生，影响力是很大的，是2国元首普京总统和我们习总书记、习主席亲自发贺电。墨尔本生命健康工程学院进入筹建阶段，多所国际名校正在洽谈引进。深圳国际大学园已成为全国国际合作办学集聚最多的区域，为创新创业提供了强力的智力支撑。拥有全省首屈一指的技术转移促进中心，搭建了硅谷、深圳、龙岗等7列国际创新创业直通车，建设了香港中文大学深圳机器人与智能制造研究院等一批新型科研机构，创新平台达141家，为创新创业提供了专业的平台支持。此外，龙岗还有政策优、成本低、环境好等一系列后发优势。相信不久的将来，龙岗必将成为深圳的重创之城。今天的国际创客峰会云集了来自法国、秘鲁、美国、埃塞俄比亚等多个世界级创客大咖和国际青年创客团队，大家汇聚一堂，共同探讨创客创新创业话题，解读“一带一路”双创趋势，开展创客现场互动，积极打造一个无国界、无边界的创新交流与合作平台。我相信你们的到来必将为深圳龙岗掀起一场创新创业的头脑风暴，必将为大众创业激发新的活力。创新无限，梦想无界。愿龙岗这座美丽的活力新城为大家的深圳之行留下美好的印象。我们诚挚地欢迎国内外的创客们来龙岗创新创业，让我们共同为大家的创业梦想插上腾飞的翅膀。最后，预祝本次 峰会取得圆满成功。谢谢大家。
All right, thank you. And up next, we have Mr. Wu Yo, the Deputy Secretary General of Shenzhen People's Government. Welcome, Mr. Yo.
各位来宾、各位朋友、女士们、先生们，大家下午好。今天我们在这里举行2017年全国双创周深圳活动，暨第3届深圳国际创客周“一带一路”国际创客峰会。首先，我谨代表深圳市政府向应邀前来参加峰会的各位嘉宾表示热烈的欢迎。 向所有关心、支持、参与“一带一路”国际创客峰会的海内外朋友表示由衷的感谢。And on behalf of Shenzhen Municipal Government, I would like to give a special welcome to our international makers and friends. Thank you. 共建“一带一路”倡议是促进全球和平合作和共同发展的中国方案。“一带一路”传承丝绸之路精神，追求互利共赢和优势互补的合作，推进大众创业、万众创新，是中国加快实施创新驱动发展战略，培育经济发展新动能。 推进供给侧结构性改革的重要战略举措。深圳位于珠江口东岸，是中国第一个经济特区和改革开放的窗口，处于海上丝绸之路重要节点。37年来，深圳始终坚持改革开放、创新发展，从一个仅有3万多人口。 2、3条小街的边陲小镇，发展成为一座拥有上千万人口、经济繁荣、创新时尚、社会和谐、功能完备、环境优美的现代化都市，创造了世界工业化、城市化、现代化的奇迹。新时期，深圳提出建设国际科技产业创新中心。 现代化、国际化创新城市和社会主义现代化先行区，我们非常重视国际交流，举办国际创客周就是重要的举措。去年我们成功举办了全国双创周主会场活动和第2届深圳国际创客周，吸引到了来自于35个国家和地区的50万人次参加。 今年的创客周来自美国、英国、澳大利亚、秘鲁、法国等15个国家和地区的39个国际创客团队参加。今天我们举办这个峰会，就是以实际行动落实“一带一路”倡议和大众创业、万众创新，进一步加深各国创客的交流与合作，搭建创客创业项目。 成果孵化平台，引导创新资源的合理流动。深圳愿意为各国提供创新创业的深圳样本，深化人员和科技的交流，共享创新发展的理念，共同创造创新发展的繁荣。最后，预祝本次峰会取得圆满成功。谢谢各位。
Thank you. And now for our opening ceremony. So we're going to call up the following people. Mr. Wu Yo, please come back up to the stage. Deputy Secretary General of Shenzhen People's Government. Mr. Ma Ming Gao, the Vice President of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. Mr. Ju Yoon, the Biotechnology Department of Science and Technology Innovation Committee. Ms. Shirley Falk, Executive Vice President and Secretary General of SZOIL. Mr. Wu Gao Feng, Chairman of Harvest Valley Casino Finish. Mr. Athar Azaman, PhD, Member, Science and Technology and ICT Planning Commission. And Mr. Roy Sungai, Project Manager of iCloud Lab. Please come up to the stage. And now, if everyone could please place your hands on the screen. And welcome to today's opening ceremony of the Belt and Road International Conference. 2, 1. Please take your seat, thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Lucas Graffan, Lab Explorer of Maker Tour, and Ms. Marie Leveron, the Lab Explorer of Maker Tour. Please come up, thank you.
Hello everyone. Ni hao. So we are Lucas and Marie from Maker Tour. So first, thank you for welcoming us here in Shenzhen. So first, Maker Tour. Today we are building a network connecting the different actors of the maker movement. Today, we are 9 volunteers in France that are really passionate about the maker movement. We are freelance, entrepreneurs, consultants, makers, top managers. We all gather our energy to really grow the maker movement all over the world. First, we noticed one thing. Most of the maker spaces, most of the makers tend to work by themselves. They face similar challenges, but they don't always have time to collaborate with each other. So here, that's where we intervene. That's what we want to do. We want to foster collaboration, we want to foster synergies between those maker spaces, between those makers. Then, we noticed also that 99% of the population in the world is not aware of what a startup is, of what a maker is, of what you can concretely do in those awesome places. So, with Maker Tour, we spread the word about the maker movement. Concretely, what we do is that we go in those spaces, we document the diversity of the collaborative fabrication workshops. It can be Fab Labs, it can be maker spaces, it can be hacker spaces, but also corporate labs. And we share all our information on our platform, makertour.fr. So Makertour was created 2 years ago by two French guys, Mathieu and Etienne. They started by documenting more than 50 labs in France and in Europe. That's how it started. Then with Lucas, we joined the adventure, and now for 6 months we are documenting more than 50 labs and 100 of projects of makers in Asia. So as you can see, we are here in China, and it remains us at least 2 months to document more labs in South Korea and in Japan. But the adventure doesn't stop here. So next year we are going to see Victor from Peru, for example. So Lena and Vianney are going to document more than 50 labs and 100 projects of makers all over Latin America next year. So it's only the beginning. So far, we've already documented more than 80 labs and 70 projects of makers. So now, Lucas is going to present you and give you a little overview of what we've seen so far in Asia.
Hello everyone. So basically with Marie, we started our tour 6 months ago, as she said, and we wanted to give you an overview of what is the maker movement currently and what is the maker movement working on in the several countries we have seen so far. So there are mainly 3 pillars, which are 3 areas of actions for the maker movement. The first one is education, and we have seen that as well, talking with many makers in Shenzhen. Education is a big focus in many countries, and reinventing learning experiences through mainly STEM is a key area where makerspaces are working. On top of that, makerspaces are currently growing the entrepreneurs of tomorrow by giving them space, machines, and grants to develop their projects. And finally, all of that is done to bring an answer and a relevant response to local issues. So, amongst the next slide, we are going to share with you a few examples of projects that we have discovered so far. So this is Karkana. This is a makerspaces in Nepal, in Kathmandu, dedicated to education. As many other makerspaces, children are gathering once a week here, so they get out of their classroom, they go and they learn science through playful scenarios. So here, for example, they had to build a bridge to help villagers to hunt a monster that was hidden in a cave. So through these experiences, they have to work in groups. They start to learn science by using new technologies. And this is an area where makerspaces is working. Staying in Nepal, we wanted to show you an example of 2 people. They are Ram and Ben. They are working in the Nepal Innovation Lab, and they are using the makerspace to develop a 3D humanitarian kit. So what is it concretely? They sent a small 3D printers with a few with an iPhone basically, which has an offline application on it, and they send that in remote areas where it's not easy to send goods. And so people from there, they can download the app and 3D print any types, not any, but a lot of types of medical devices or small products that can be used in case of emergencies. Following solving local issues, we went to Iran. In Iran, we met FabLab Tehran and we met Azadeh. Azadeh is a young biologist, and she's working on solving the pollution issues of her city, Tehran, who is facing this issue for several years. So she's a biologist and a specialist in algae, and algae, as you might know, is providing more than 80% of the oxygen on the planet. So she used algae and put them in a furniture. Everything has been designed in FabLab Tehran and prototyped there. And through this system, you can put it in your room or in your building, and it treats carbon dioxide and transforms it into oxygen inside buildings. So this is the types of things that are getting prototyped in makerspaces. But beyond that, you know that awareness regarding pollution is also a very important topic. So in India, a team of engineers has developed SZOIL. SZOIL is an open source product that will warn you if the level of pollution is getting too high. So when the pollution is high, the eyes glow red, and when the pollution is low, the eyes glow green. It's very simple. It's been done in a makerspace, and the plans are open source and can be done anywhere else in the world. But makerspaces are not about making small types of products as well. So we went in India, in Bangalore, and we met one of the biggest hardware incubator in India. It's called IKP Eden. And here they built big makerspaces, and they welcome any people who is willing to start his own startups. So this is about making business, but making business at low cost at start. So they allow every people to use the machine to prototype their first product. Again, another example that we saw is called Riddle. Riddle is a makerspace inside the university in Mumbai, and here they help students to launch their first companies using the machines available. So one example is called Square Off. It's a smart chessboard that you can see here. They have raised a lot of a very successful crowdfunding campaign, and they are nowadays they are in Shenzhen producing their first batch of products. But makerspaces can also handle bigger projects. Like, for example, maybe you are aware of the Hyperloop project held by Elon Musk. Basically, it's a train of the future that is currently being built, and they started an international competition to build the vehicle that will go through the train. And this vehicle has been prototyped for the Hyperloop India team inside the Fab Lab Workbench project, which is a Fab Lab located in Bangalore. So as you can see, makerspaces can handle very small projects and very big projects as well. But still, we have a few challenges to tackle for makerspaces. And one of the first is regarding the users. So today, according to all the labs we have documented with MakerTour, we observed that 70% of the users are male students with an IT background, which is perfectly fine in a sense, but it also means that today makerspaces are only known by a very few part of the population. So we need to spread the word for people to understand all the possibilities of the maker movement and makerspaces and start to build more spaces and invest on it. The second challenge that is facing the maker movement, it's the business model. So across all the makerspaces we have documented, only 27% actually, are able to sustain by themselves. So a third of it is sustained because they get government funds or help, but half of them are still struggling a lot. So we need to build a network that will allow makerspaces to sustain. So what is the solution behind that? Well, we don't have the full solution, unfortunately, but working with MakerTour, we know that building a network that will allow makers to communicate with each other even abroad and to play on their strengths is one of the solutions to grow the maker movement. One simple example that we saw is that 90% of the projects that we have seen in makerspaces don't go beyond the prototyping phase, and that's a real issue because many products are getting developed, but only a few will reach the market. So we have been in Shenzhen for 2 weeks now, and we have documented four Fab Labs and makerspaces like SZOIL or Troublemakers or Chairo or Axe. And what we noticed was that here the DNA of Shenzhen is into its power to go from innovation to manufacturing at a very high pace and with very high quality. So we start to think about creating connections between makers abroad that would have a product but would be linked to the Shenzhen ecosystem to benefit from its core DNA structure. So that's it for the quick overview of what we have seen so far, and thank you very much for welcoming us here.
Okay, thank you. And next we have, again, Victor Gustavo Melendez, Lab Manager of Papero Marca, Peru. Thank you again.
Hi, how are you? Again, this is what I'm going to talk. Global makers, creativity, and maker movement with tourism. This one, right? Yeah. Well, actually, I'm coming from Marca Peru Lab, that, as I told you, it's a space we're creating in the Ministry of Tourism in Peru. No, we are a brand new space that wants to innovate in terms of service, not specifically in product, but in service. No, actually, this is the team. She's Marta, Janet, and me. Actually, we already came to China. I came to China last year, and I really like the country. I came to Shenzhen. So, yeah, that's the video, right? Okay? That's something I want to show. This is about Peru. I want you to know a little bit about the country. Is it okay?
曾曾祖父们，我们的祖先们开始了一段持续至今的伟业。 这项事业一直简单如斯，那就是团结你我。不仅团结你我，更心系身边土地，我们的大地，我们的太阳，我们的甘泉，还有我们的内心。我们与世界共为一体，这就是我们的为人处事的方式。智慧、和谐，以及最重要的热爱。我们的产品是我们与地球的对话方式。以此告诉大家，我们学习到的经验，我们从哪里来，又往哪里去。从土地产出的每一个果实里，在织机上的每一股纺线里，都有密度的烙印。我们共为一体。我们的花朵给了我们纺织的灵感，我们的布料传承了我们悠久的传统，我们的传统孕育在我们的皮斯科酒中，我们的皮斯科酒植根在我们举世闻名的饮食文化里。我们是大世界中的小世界，在这里你可心想事成，更会有惊喜发现。这是我们从祖先那里学到的一切，所为之努力的一切，所代表的一切，也是为之自豪的一切。例如，全心为你，心系寰宇。
But there's an issue that we have an influence of different cultures of different countries. Actually, there's a huge influence of China. This is the first picture of the Chinese community in Peru that went to Peru in 1849. But thanks to Chinese, is that we got different things. This is the first one. This is Gabon. This is the Chinese street in Peru, in Lima. No, that's a very typical place where people go in order to buy things, in order to eat food. No, we also celebrate the New Year. No, and a lot of the people in Peru also like to make the customs. No, the dragons, the lions, all that kind of thing, because we really like it. There's a lot of maker movement in terms of developing products with different cultures. No? For example, the children that is being part of the ceremony. We also think a lot about the horoscope. That's one thing that we really like. The temples, the food. Actually, we eat, in Spanish we say arroz chaufa. That's something that we eat and we really like. No? Actually, there are like 10,000 chifas, that is like the Chinese restaurant in Peru per year. It's because people in the country really like the food. And as you can see, it's a mixture. No? Now I'm talking about making, but in terms of food. No? Making food and how changing cultures means that you can develop different dishes. No? For example, there's a restaurant, no, that is Madame Susan. We also have schools, no, that is the Chinese Peruvian school. No? And we also keep a lot of the architecture because it's really important for us. No? There's this person is Erasmo Wong, that is one of the richest persons in Peru that owns Wong. It's a supermarket. He began many years ago, but now, thanks to his innovation in terms of service, because that's what he really likes, the service, a good service for people, he grew a lot, and now there are lots of Wong stores in Peru. And this is another thing, that we have Paruro. No? Paruro is a place where you can get electronics, but actually it's a very small place. It's like Huachanbei, but very, 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 very small. No? No? So that's the main place where makers go in order to develop their products. Because we don't have that kind of thing, electronics. So they have to go to Paruro in order to get, resistors, or in order to develop this kind of projects. No? So it's also a huge influence. If people want to develop their things, they have to go there in order to buy their materials. No? So that's something I wanted you to know about the Chinese culture in Peru. Now, in terms of the maker movement, we began actually in many years ago because of the handicraft technique, but in terms of digital fabrication techniques, we began in 2010. We developed different maker spaces. This is one, for example, Fab Lab Esan. And you can see the mixture of children and adult people, and they really like to develop things using laser cutters, or for example, the CNC milling machine, in order to, do whatever they want. This is another part of the Fab Lab with the 3D printers, but the issue is that we are using machines from other countries. But that's important because it means that in order to improve the maker movement, we need to collaborate between different places and cultures. This is a person that visited Peru not only because of learning how to make, but also about the culture. So that's a very important aspect to consider when you're talking about the maker movement. So in Peru, there are lots of laboratories. People now understand how to make something. They know how to use the laser cutter, the 3D printer. Now we know about electronics, about programming. We are now decentralized because now we are having Fab Labs outside the capital. This is Fab Lab UC, that is in Huancayo, that is next to Lima. And I don't remember what was here. And we are also developing projects for schools. So in order to let kids understand about this concept, we are developing workshops with people of the Ministry of Education, so they can design their own maker spaces according to the local context and culture. And also, we are working inside the Ministry of Tourism because we want to include digital fabrication techniques in this field of tourism. It's something similar to the maker tour. That's what we really want to develop. So we are trying to make people, workers from the ministry, use their own hands in order to create something. Maybe not with technology, but we want them to make, and because that's a very important aspect, to encourage the creativity in people. And this is the event where we went this year in Chile. Here you can see almost all the Peruvian delegation developing their workshops. This is the Fab Academy, that is the graduation of this important course in the Fab Labs. They should develop a cardboard CNC machine. This is a workshop for kids related to STEAM, that is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. We also made a mixture of gastronomy and also the maker movement. That's why we want to combine food with the makers. And that's what we're planning to do for the following events, because food is very important. There are students, so that's the whole experience of the maker movement. That's the idea, that you collaborate between countries, you can share information, you can share products, experience. Everybody's going to learn from everybody. This is Walter, that he loves a lot of handicraft techniques. He's a crazy character that loves handicraft and textiles, and this is all the Peruvian team. So one good thing is that now we understand how to make things, but there's something that another group of people are growing up, are other designers, because sometimes the maker is not a designer, and they are getting close to the real product. This is, for example, a designer that likes to, actually that's a character of Digimon, that is a cartoon, and he likes to develop, to make his drawings, but not there. This is another product of Elizabeth. She likes to develop this kind of robots. Interactive robots with the mobile that are for education, but those are 3D printed. It's not like a real product made of plastic. This is another product that is like a transportation. I want you to understand that there are different communities, no? Like the maker community that likes to use the laser cutter, the 3D printing. But there's another community of designers that are also worried about ergonomics, about function, about the user experience, about how you are going to use the product, because sometimes those aspects are not considered by different makers. So now we are trying to combine, and that's something that I want you to see, no? We want to combine the engineers with the designers in order to create products. But one issue is that in Peru, we don't do that industrially. No? It's kind of expensive to develop that kind of things. Because we don't have all the machines to do it. We can make prototypes. But if we want to do something in an industrial way, we are not so good at that. That's why it's important for us to work with other countries. Not here. But this is another project of design that is about a prototype. Here. Well, this is another project being developed that is from Ernesto Rosales. He won a Red Dot Award. That he's very good at modeling, at making something in 3D. But the problem is that it's not a real product, no? And we need to understand which the tools are to do it. This is another project of Diego Lau. He really likes Lego, but Lego doesn't make Peruvian characters. That's why he designed it, no? That's a 3D, and then he also 3D printed it. No? So it's a real product, small one, and he's selling that for $400 because it's like a customized sculpture, no? So those are like the makers in Peru, no? And he really likes to do that kind of things. This is another project of Think Lab. They are planning to send like a mini laboratory to the moon next year with the collaboration of India in order to send some bacteria and to know how they are going to react in the moon, no? It's also an interdisciplinary team, and that's a very important aspect to consider when you want to develop a project. No? Yeah, this is in Spanish. It's about Peruvian kids that are going to send a product to the moon. No? Well, it says that we are talking about a spatial mini lab of 10 centimeters, something similar to a Coke soda can full of sensors. Going to measure radiation and temperature. It's going to take a micro camera that will, well, it's going to see the result of the bacteria in the moon. And that's another project we want to support in Peru. So there's a missing link for us. That is actually how to create a real product so everyone can use it. And that's how you participate, and that's how we want you to be part of this. Because, for example, those are some images of Wachambay, I guess, no? And it's very important for us to work in collaboration with you. Because, for example, we don't have these kind of machines inside of many laboratories or inside universities, no? We don't, this level of work where you see all the details of the product, it's something that we don't have in Peru. And that's why we want, and we feel important, it's good to collaborate between countries. No? So that's the idea, how we can work in a collaborative way. And then, learning how to make through cultural experiences. Not all the images appear, but the important thing about the maker movement is that even though, it's about machines, it's also about the experience of making. No? It's also about the experience of sharing moments and space to learn different techniques. No? This is another, for example, another example of event that is in Barcelona, of the Fab Labs, where you can see all the people attending. This is another example, for example, in Peru, that is people going because they want to learn about the potato. No? That's another, and they are learning about food, they are learning about local techniques of making stuff. No? These are the handicrafts No? Maybe in the future we can combine electronics with these techniques. No? This is another part of Peru that can be turned into a new way of making related to the environment. And there are spaces where we should also consider innovation, and why not making something there? No? For example, the churches. Why cannot we innovate in terms of religion or faith? No? Innovation in terms of, for example, cemeteries or life, or the concept of death or life or living, no? Or in terms of stadium or sports. There's another important aspect. For example, the Arsenal has had an innovation lab. No? It's innovation in terms of sports. The zoo, how can we develop products for animals or with animals? Health, it's another important field where you can participate as makers, engineers, designers, or any kind of field. And also the Peruvian, well, not the Peruvian, also about the restaurants. No? Why not developing innovation laboratories inside restaurants where you can play with food and digital fabrication techniques? No? So this is that's what we believe could be now there are skills. It's the 21st century skills by World Economic Forum, and those are creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, and communication. And we think that maybe the 22nd century skills will be related to space, understanding about planets and universe, because now you see that there are lots of projects related to space, to exploring other planets, what's happening outside the Earth. In terms of sense, using sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, because we also need to use all our senses to use a product. Mental connection, the feeling without being there. For example, if you are looking at a video of something happening in other countries, you feel angry, you feel sad, you feel happy. So there are projects related to that kind of feeling. We are becoming more global, no? There's a cultural empathy with any country, and there's also expression, new ways to communicate a message, and imagination, no? No limits of concept generation. Actually, imagination is a very important aspect we should encourage in all makers, in all places, and that's the last message I wanted you to understand. This might be the future skills the children might need in order to create their products. So yeah, well, that's all my presentation, and oh, sorry. Yeah, and thank you very much.
So when are we going to Peru? That sounded great. Thank you, Victor. All right, and up next we have Mr. Athar Osman, PhD member of the Science and Technology and ICT Planning Commission. Thank you, Athar.
I want to thank the Shenzhen Municipal Government, the Longdong District Government, the Shenzhen Open Innovation Lab, and the Sino-Finnish Design District here for inviting me to this event. You know, when I was coming here, I looked at all the other participants. I thought I was probably the oldest and the least exciting. You know, while I've been you know, somewhat of a maker. In my past, I do not run a maker space. I work, you know, currently work within the Pakistani government. I'm responsible for planning initiatives on science and technology, IT, and higher education. So it's kind of relevant. I lived abroad for about 15 years before moving back to Pakistan, and one of the things that you know, brought me back to Pakistan was this desire create an innovation culture. I set up the Pakistan Innovation Foundation, which is a non-profit organization which is trying to promote an innovation culture in the Pakistani society, primarily focused at solving local problems rather than you know, building solutions for the global market. You know, in the early 2010, 2012 time frame when I was moving back to Pakistan, a lot of entrepreneurship activity in Pakistan was happening, focused on trying to create exports and trying to solve the problems in the West. And I was, kind of intrigued, kind of disturbed, by the fact that we have a lot of local problems that we're not addressing, and a lot of our very talented entrepreneurs and innovators were working to, try to solve, global problems. So, so the primary, function of my foundation initially was to help, interest Pakistani individuals as well as companies to look at local problems, and if they can solve the local problems, then perhaps they can scale these solutions to global markets as well. So, that's how I came across the maker movement in Pakistan, which was just beginning to take form 3 to 5 years ago. One of the first challenges that we ran was, a manufacturing innovation challenge. And one of the people in the manufacturing innovation challenge was building a local 3D printer locally. It's a funny story, and it's kind of ironic as well, because 3D printers are currently banned in Pakistan. You cannot import a 3D printer into Pakistan. The government, has taken a position that you could potentially use 3D printers to print plastic weapons, which would not be detectable through, metal scanners. So it is not possible to import a 3D printer legally. But there is a very, very vibrant local 3D printing, movement. People are building their own 3D printers, and they're also smuggling parts from abroad and then trying to create them locally. So that was my kind of first introduction to the making culture in Pakistan. We also ran, in the process of doing these, innovation challenges, we also came across the notion that a lot of times this innovation, and I think you guys mentioned this, that a lot of people who were doing this kind of making were IT, IT professionals or IT students, and so we kind of discovered this disconnect that we have within the country between people who build IT solutions to problems and the designers who create solutions that are aesthetically appealing and are acceptable as real products. And so for the first time, we actually tried to bring together engineers and designers into a same room and make them work together so that they can come up with not just functional product, functional solutions, but real aesthetically pleasing product. So it's been a learning journey since then, and I welcome this opportunity to be here and interact with other people within the maker community. This is my second visit to Shenzhen. I came here 3 months ago, and I was actually quite quite excited to experience what was happening here, and obviously wanted to come back. And I also want to create a formal arrangement within the startup community in Pakistan with the hardware sector in Shenzhen. So I would start my presentation by saying that while we talk about this maker movement as if this is something new, in the past we've all been makers. And when I was growing up, I took on hobby electronics and aero modeling as things that I did in my spare time. We have a long history of making things, and somehow because of government policies and other things, some of this has kind of gone away. So if you look at hundreds and thousands of years of history of the region that is Pakistan today, there's been it has been home to the most advanced human civilization. And we have mind-boggling examples of the maker culture that existed not thousands of years ago, but hundreds of years ago. I went to a museum in Doha, Qatar, where they had what was a celestial globe. I don't know how many of you understand what a celestial globe is. it's a metallic globe that that shows the map of the skies on it. And this particular globe was actually hollow from inside, but made from one piece. So usually the way you would make a hollow structure is by fusing two parts of the structure together. But this particular piece was made in one piece, hollow from inside. Now it's possible to think today of doing something like this with a 3D printer because you can sort of additively build it up. But I can't think of a way of how you would do a metal, a hollow metal structure which is not fused together with two parts. And the plaque underneath this celestial globe said that this was made in Lahore, which is a city in Pakistan 500 years ago. And this is a craft which is now extinct. So nobody knows how they made it. So this was lost, over time, during the colonial period and all. Obviously the maker culture is not a new phenomena. We traditionally used to have people who used to run shops where they would create things, and this was very much part of our shared experience growing up. Even a person like me, we were involved in electronics manufacturing and modeling. In Pakistan, as late as 1960s, we used to make stuff. I will show you a few examples, but we don't make them anymore, and I think that's part of the problem. So, for instance, these are three industrial examples of things that we used to make in Pakistan. The ballpoint pen, this company SZOIL Engineers was established in the 1960s. In the 1960s, the website says that the ballpoint pen was such a thing that it was only possible in the West. And this was probably one of the only companies in Asia, and certainly the only one in South Asia that established a manufacturing facility. Similarly, these flash batteries used to be produced in Pakistan, not produced anymore. DCC, which is one of the companies that first produced very advanced PAVX systems in the 1990s, and suddenly the government dropped duties on import of PAVX systems, and the company just went away. And then this is an example of something that I personally was very inspired by. This is a guy who built an aircraft on the top of his roof in Karachi. He called this aircraft Al Munir, which in English translates into the shining one. He flew the aircraft. This is I'm talking about 1986-87. He flew the aircraft in the sky. In the sky, this was made out of the engine from a Suzuki Jeep, and he wanted to create a light aircraft industry in Pakistan. I personally was inspired by this person. I became an aeronautical engineer because of him. But then he just went away. Several years later, I was talking on a TV program where I was relating this story as something that inspired me and my foundation. And the compare, on the TV channel said perhaps the only difference between him and the Wright brothers was that he was born in the wrong country. He wanted to create a light aircraft industry in Pakistan, but nobody, supported him, and this guy simply, disappeared from the scene. I've tried to actually, tried to trace him. I don't know where he is, where he lives now, whether he is even alive or not. So all this was happening before the 1990s when I was growing up in the country. And then something happened, a mix of industrial policy and educational policies somehow put a stop to all of this, and then we've experienced a period of decline in both creativity and hands-on development of stuff during the late 1990s and early 2000s. And there was also a delegitimization of the traditional maker, which is the real maker, who operated a shop or a lathe machine somewhere where he could do stuff. And there's a lot of such activity now that still happens in Pakistan within the non-traditional sector. And somehow this informal innovation and informal making is not recognized anymore. So this was the state, and then obviously this happened. This is the new maker movement. Obviously, these are the three tools, probably the most important three tools that at least we see in Pakistan, which have made making more accessible to people who may not have the real skills in making, but with the help of these tools are now able to create things that that are useful. So now suddenly in the last 5 years or so, there's been a major interest in the in the making culture, particularly amongst the younger generation, particularly amongst schools and university students. There is obviously a part of our university curriculum, certainly in the technology domains, that that requires every student to make something as an undergraduate project, which has sort of kept this alive. But now, with the help of these tools, this making is now moving into the schools and also more popular domains. So the National Engineering and Robotics Contest has been going on in Pakistan for a long while, and this is really the sort of grandfather of these efforts in Pakistan. So now we have a number of these other entities that are promoting various forms of the making movement and the making culture. We have this company called LearnerBots, which works with young students to help them to experience making for the first time. They use 3D printers, they use robots, they use Arduinos, and run these courses. This is the guy I was talking about. He was he had imported a 3D printer from abroad, and that 3D printer got stuck in the customs, and the customs won't let it go because 3D printer. First they didn't understand what a 3D printer was, and when they tried to understand it, somebody said, okay, let's not let this in because this could be dangerous and people could build weapons using 3D printers. So right now the de facto position of the government is that 3D printers are not allowed in the country. You can't import them, but you can build them locally. This gentleman actually builds 3D printers locally. He imports parts in various pieces from various places around the world, including China, and then locally builds them and is doing actually programs in schools and universities around the country as well. This is the new form of hobby electronics in the country, where again these guys also have a privately done maker space where they invite people to do hobby electronics with them. And then finally, the DIY culture is also kind of picking up. Here are some of these companies. There's a maker space at one of the university called Makistan, which has been recently set up the last year or so. These are a bunch of kids who are being positioned as role models. So this is like a maker movement for kids, by the kids. And then DIY Geeks is basically another company in Lahore that does this. And finally, STEM has also been revived as a result of this maker movement, and I think there are interactions between the STEM movement and the maker movement in Pakistan. So my foundation actually organized this STEM school last year, where we selected 35 kids from all across the country, took them to a university for 10 days, and had them work hands-on on science projects, and then make them build a science project of their own. So these are some of the things that are happening in Pakistan right now. Obviously everything is kind of coming together, and what we see in Pakistan is re-emergence of the making culture, more in popular domain than in the informal domain where it was before, and so which is why my talk is known as the re-emergence of the making culture rather than the emergence of the making culture. So just to sort of recap, what we see is a tremendous flowering of private sector-led innovation that has placed Pakistan in a position to take advantage of these new developments. There's a certain excitement around DIY, making STEM and other disciplines. Easy to use tools are driving the democratization and the mass popularization of the making culture. But the true maker movement is still in its infancy. We still struggle in finding enough people. For example, I visited a number of maker spaces around the world, and what they have is a core group of people who sustain this activity on a long-term basis. And I think that is something that we're still lacking. And I think one of the reasons, one of the things that we need to do is to somehow bring that old traditional knowledge that we have within the society into these maker spaces, because that would really recharge these maker spaces. There are also issues with all these skill, the skill sets of people. So there are not enough people skilled at the high enough level to be able to sustain these spaces at this point. So here are some of the challenges. Obviously, while the universities have not been the primary source of this revival, they have kept this making alive. The first dedicated maker spaces are only emerging now. I talked about this Makerstan at ITU, the playground at one of the universities. The Janriga is a privately run space, and then there's another, government-funded maker space at another university plan. The maker movement is gaining adherents, though not as fast as we would like, and there is still a debate going on within the country on whether this movement is purposeful or merely a bunch of kids having fun, and whether we need to sort of channel this movement locally into something that sort of builds upon our own tradition, or whether we need whether we should just let it be driven by the Western construct of what a makerspace is. So these are important debates within the country. The government has obviously in the recent past woken up to some of what is happening, and there is a movement towards creating incubation program. One of the incubation centers that has been set up by the government also has a maker space associated with it. There are several innovation centers that are planned. I'll talk a little bit about it. We are in the process of rolling out a major startup initiative, and as a part of this startup initiative, we would I'm exploring the possibility of having a location in Shenzhen where some of our particularly the hardware entrepreneurs can interact with the community in Shenzhen to bring their products to market. There is also a major skill development initiative in the works. There's a program called DigiSkills, which will train 1 million people in digital skills for the 21st century. And then I'm responsible for a program called 21st Century Global Skills, which will create 100,000 people trained in very high-end IT skills, such as e-commerce, artificial intelligence, cloud, etc., and link them to the global markets. So these are some of the things that are in the offing. There's a thrust towards moving towards this fourth industrial revolution thing, which is a buzzword right now, but people are afraid that this would, if we don't skill up, we're going to lose competitiveness and lose jobs. So there are a number of government programs that are focusing towards these. This is the Ministry of IT program in Artificial Intelligence, Robotics and FinTech, and then I'm responsible for working with the Higher Education Commission to create university, research centers in some of these areas, and we are structuring them in such a way that they have a direct connection with industry and the broader startup community. So in the end, I think we all believe and agree that that the 21st century is going to be very different. I mean, I personally think that by the end of the 21st century, we might be a very different species than what we are right now, given all this biology and artificial intelligence and virtual reality that is shaping up very quickly. And the only way to survive is to be not on the wrong side of this change. And we have an obligation to be responsible custodians and change agents who can harness and drive some of this change. And I think this making culture and all these fourth industry revolution technologies are going to drive where we go in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. All right. We just finished with Pakistan. That was interesting, and now we're going to Ethiopia. We have Ray Chegwe, project manager of ICOG Lab.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rutagay. I'm from Ethiopia. First of all, I would like to thank the SZOIL Lab, the Open Innovation Lab, especially David Lee and Nikki Ray for helping me to make it all the way to here. And second, I would like to thank all the people in Shenzhen because let me tell you something. I've been here like only for 31 or 32 hours. But I have been traveling at least 35 people asking direction and things like that, and all of them have been helpful. So I think I should say thank you to the people of this beautiful city as well. Like I said, I'm from Africa, I'm from East Africa, and we have also started this maker movement in Africa. I know many of you don't know Ethiopia, but trust me, we know about China. Now, everyone in Africa, even a blind man in a pitch black night, can clearly see that China is the future. So here I am telling something about our part, about Africa, about Ethiopia, what we have been doing regarding this maker movement. Before I start, I will give you just a brief 1 or 2 minutes about how things are in Africa. Yeah, it's true that we have a lot of banks, by the way. I didn't bring one, but we have a lot of them. And sadly, we have also civil wars. So probably many aspects of the media will focus on these 2 things. But that's not everything about Africa. We have other things to share with you. And one thing you need to know is that, of course, we like to do things in our own way, which is like this thing. Like, we like to do things in our own way. We will carry our goat and drive our bike, things like that. But let me now tell you the big thing about Africa and what's going on there. The ICT business is on the rise in Africa. We have a booming ICT business in Africa. We have like now $612 billion is going to be generated via this sector only. There are a lot of the bulk of this money is generated from the mobile industry, and like as you can see, in 2012 there was less than 5 million people with mobile phones, but right now we have 712 million mobile users in Africa. And why I'm saying this fact to you, because the money, the business is in the mobile business right now in Africa, and many of the makerspace and the activities related with the maker community are focusing on building apps for mobile service, because the mobile industry is a leading industry in Africa's tech business. when it comes to hardware, we are not there yet. So I think if you are interested in Africa's business, your focus should be on the mobile related services. So it is, like I said, we have now 226 million smartphone users. And what's interesting about this thing is that so far Africa has been the untapped continent. I mean, the market is open. It's too early for companies to be saturated there. So anyone with a workable application can have a market in Africa because it's new. It's in its current stage, you know, it's like a baby. So if you have a product, a workable product, especially if you customize your product with some local language in Africa, you can make a fortune. It's an open market. Government is building a lot of infrastructures, and I think for maker spaces in China who are interested in the application business, Africa is a good point for you. There is a market in Africa. About the internet users also, because many people think that Africa lacks the internet, so it has no use to involve in the mobile app business. No, but that's not true. Now we are building infrastructures for internet access, and we have more than 353 million internet users in the continent, which means that your product can be sold in Africa. Now we're using internet. It's no longer a pigeon tweet. We have now Twitters and things like that. So if there are any maker representatives here, people involved in the business of mobile apps, I'm telling you this. Africa is the right place for you guys. You can invest in Africa, and you will not regret your decision. It's the right place for you. So now, I have selected 3 nations in Africa which are the best place for the ICT business, which are also the best place for any makers interested to produce some products for the African market. This data is collected from reliable sources like IMF, World Bank, UNDP. I didn't make this data. So any of you who are interested to invest in Africa, these 3 countries should be your focus. No? You should think about these countries. No? I have Ethiopia, Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa. So for makers who are interested in the application business, you should target these 3 countries. They have the best result compared to the other 50-something African countries. Like on this side we have the economic maturity, on this side we have the environment, which means the infrastructure, things related with the IT business, and we have also skills and digital literacy. Like you can find a programmer, a good programmer in these 4 countries. You can find people who understand what emerging technology means and things like that. So if you are interested, you can research your own further, access some data. But these 4 countries, as of today, are the leading nations in Africa when it comes to ICT and business related with ICT. Of course, the GDP is also growing, which means that we are no longer poor. We can pay. Of course, in the media, we are always depicted as people begging or broke. But it's not true anymore. Now we can afford to pay things, and our GDP is rising. So, as you can see, it's estimated to be around by 2020, like 7 billion I mean 700 billion dollar GDP will be given in Ethiopia. So we are ready for the world that we can be an active part of this new era that we call the era of technology. So the conclusion here is that it's a big conclusion actually, but it's a short one. The ICT sector, just after 10 years, will reach to $1 trillion in Africa. So it's a big news, of course, for all the other continents. But it seems right now we are doing business with China, so I think it's a big news for China. This is a conclusion from some research, but I will not waste your time by reading it. Just think about a market that is $1 trillion size after 10 years. If I were you, I will start investing right now. So I came from a company called iCode Makers. I worked for a lab called iCode Labs. These were the original team members when we found that lab 5 years ago. Actually, let me tell you a story. When we started this lab, it was intended to be a research lab for artificial intelligence and robotics. And then I go to some government office and tell the guy that, hello mister, my name is blah blah blah, I come from here, and we work on AI. He says, on what? AI. Are you telling me that you guys are working on artificial intelligence in a country that is known for droughts and war? Yes. He was so surprised. I know many guys are also surprised to find out that countries like Ethiopia were working on artificial intelligence and robotics. Because we know that it is time to wake up. Like, I think it was Napoleon who said that China is sleeping right now, but when it wakes up, it's like a huge giant dragon or something. Well, let me tell you something. Africa may be even the mother of the Chinese dragons if we wake up. So we started this lab 5 years ago. And then exactly 2 years ago, we started an initiative called iCode Makers Initiative. Basically, it's a platform that aims to connect African universities in a way that they can create makerspace. Right now, we have more than 26 partners from 3 African nations. And we have a lot of students linked in this initiative. The idea is to create this one big, giant African makers community so that a student from Gabon, Nigeria, Ethiopia, or Uganda, or wherever from Africa can communicate with another student in another nation and collaborate in a project. And then, make it free and finalize the product to marketing stage. So I think it looks like a big ambition, but with our efforts, we have made it so far in 3 African nations with a 26 signed agreement. So I would also like to say that if some of you are interested to communicate with me, you can talk with me outside. Right now we have access to all these universities, which means we have access to a lot of talent. You never know what you will find within these students all over this country. And what is our glue to hold all these nations and universities is we have this annual tournament called iCode Makers Robo Soccer Cup now. Because at least you need to gather all these partner universities annually, make them come to one place and communicate with each other. And for that, we run this Robo Soccer Cup competition annually. This is a picture taken from this year. This year's finalists were 2 universities from Ethiopia, one called Mekelle, one called Addis Ababa. Well, the funny story is, this robot scored 2 goals. But at the end of the game, we find out that he was cheating. No? The team has implanted this system to jam the other team's communication. So the funny thing is, this technology is when you start using it, you can use it for good or for bad. This was the first year, and we have this sophisticated cheating system designed by the students so that they can jam the other team's communication. But it was a good experience for us. The students loved it. A lot of people came together. They talked about stuffs and things like that. Even people from the stores, up floor, were looking at the matches, because like I said, Africa is a new continent when it comes to this high-tech thing. Everyone is interested. Everyone wants to contribute something. Everyone wants to invest, and everyone wants to buy. So it was a very funny time. We also ran some other events where we introduced the concept of robotics, ICOG Makers Initiative. This is now the Deputy Prime Minister of Ethiopia. We have invited His Excellency to our event, and this is the Minister of Science and Technology in Ethiopia. So as you can see, they are interested in this stuff. The door is open for anyone from abroad who is interested to work in Ethiopia, to collaborate with Ethiopian makers, universities, things like that, and especially people who are interested in the production of actual products. Because you can find prototypes in Ethiopia, but when it comes to mass production, we lack everything. No, I mean we lack everything. So our first place is always China. So everyone, including the government body, the door is open and are interested. Well, obviously I'm not going to bore you with the expected outputs because you know about such a thing. No, we expect that we can bridge the knowledge gap, we expect that we can have innovative products, we expect that these products can solve the actual problem within the community. It's not only for creating something, no, it's about poverty eradication and things like that. No? And a good example for us is that maybe we can also help some guys help from China, like a maker community in China who is interested in this project. We had a project which is a disease detecting app. Now, the government of Ethiopia is willing to pay $5 for this project if it can happen. We have started it in our own makerspace. It's about a disease detecting application. You can install it in your mobile. It has to work offline. And we started with coffee diseases because like Peru, we produce the best coffee in the world. Actually, coffee was found in Ethiopia. It was found in a region called Kaffa, that's why you call it coffee. So coffee is like the plant, the real plant in Ethiopia, and this app was intended to detect coffee disease just by taking image, and via image processing it can tell what kind of disease it is and at what stage the disease is. But we didn't finalize it because we are not that good. In short, there is no reason for failure. So what I'm saying is, projects like this are already started in Ethiopia. Government will pay good money, people will pay good money, corporations, associations, farmers associations, they will pay good money. So, in short, I'm saying let's collaborate. Let's build such kind of apps that can be used in the actual poverty eradication of nations in Africa. So there is where that the money is, because I'm emphasizing on the financial aspect because I know it is how the world works. I mean, I can speak here for 24 hours about doing things for the sake of goodness, but that's not how it works. We have to do things at the same time. We have to make some money, some business. So this is a good place for Chinese inventors or African inventors to help the community to spread knowledge and at the same time to make a living. So my presentation is very short and this is it. And once again, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Ray. And speaker is Mr. Robin Wu from Migo Pad, the CEO of the company. Mr. Robin.
非常荣幸，作为一个10年前的创业者，从创业到创客，到现在几年前开始走进非洲，就对我来说，能参加今天的这样“一带一路”的创客峰会，是一个莫大的荣幸。我期间我把我之前的一些创业者，作为科技研发工程的一个群体的一些，包括我去非洲的开拓的一些经历和历程，跟大家分享一下。如果我说的1、2句话，对于深圳、对于龙岗、对于中国的这样的一些科技型的企业能走向“一带一路”，能在习大大的带领下开疆拓土，一点点的经验、心得与体会，对你们来说感到受用，对我来说就是莫大的荣幸。刚才那哥们儿的话，就是埃克的跟埃塞俄比亚的，我几天前，大概2天前刚从非洲回来，有埃塞俄比亚、尼日利亚、卢旺达、布隆迪这些国家跑了一圈。其实我们在埃塞已经有将近几千人的工业园，然后我也去了一下埃克的那个 library， 我们有去尼日利亚的那个 G1， 除了卢旺达没有那个创新实验室之外，就是我把自己的这样的一些历程跟大家分享一下。我为什么上这个非洲移动互联网综合商务平台？我要说的这个，其实我们所有在非洲做的工作和开拓的内容，包括我们用了几千工人做的制造业，所有的目的和诉求，只为了这一个事情，所有的事情都为了这样一个目的。埃塞俄比亚的航空非常厉害，这一块呢，整个从东亚要去到非洲的话，基本是他们家航空公司的，所以这一点的话，他们整个外汇创收。我要说的是说，不是埃塞航空很厉害，是说他们的747这块机队也很强。说的不是这个，我要说的是说，埃塞就如同刚才那位哥们说的，它就像是整个东方的雄狮一样，它正在崛起，它的国家 GDP 正在高速成长，它的当时我们想都想象不到的，在这样一个80%、90%左右的农业的国家，居然还有这么多优秀的、非常精英的一些科技工作者，这就是他们的勃勃生机的无限动能。中间这幅图的话是我在卢旺达的一个就是中国使馆对面的一个万豪酒店拍的，整个非洲无论是它的市场，还是它的发展，还是它的前景，就如在黑夜中的前方的明灯一样，需要去探索，需要去开拓，但是无限光明。确实如刚才的那个 Echo 所说，非洲人从 business 的角度上来说 ，so easy。去那边的话，我们在埃塞有一个电视机厂，我们从来所有的库存没有超过1个礼拜，就是东西做出来很快就卖掉，当前提是必须得他们国家的货币结算，前提必须得是当地的制造。所以说，单纯从我个人的认识来看，就非洲的当年贸易的时代，中国广州把货拉过去的这个时代已经结束了，真正的要去融合。按照习大大的一带一路的思想，与当地的那个文化融合，到当地的科技融合。我们在埃塞俄比亚的话已经扎根了4年。我甚至我在那里，我跟当地的亚美尼亚贝巴大学去跟他们做一些，不是单纯的学术分享，也不是单纯的科技的一个探讨，而是说他们国家需要什么，他们这个国度什么样的科技产品，要开发出什么样的合适的东西。我们在这里做一个不断的跟他们做一些头脑风暴，叫做与之融合吧。这就是说非洲勃勃生机，欣欣向荣，百废待兴。当然这个地方是有机会，右边的话是我的困扰，我为什么放这么多香蕉放这里？这里有烤香蕉、煮香蕉，还有炸香蕉。因为他们的主食，有些国家埃塞是吃英吉拉，尼日利亚吃米饭，我去卢旺达 吃了将近半个月的香蕉，吃的我真的是不想死了。所以各种食物都是香蕉，这就说什么困难？你不适应、不习惯、不能接受他们的一些那种慢用的习惯嘛。很多人对非洲的认识啊，饥荒、战乱，确实，比如说乌干达的一言不合就打。如果比如说苏丹跟南苏丹，南苏丹跟苏丹打，然后打完了之后，南苏丹的总统跟副总统接着又打。总之说，很多人对非洲的认识实际上是说战乱、艾滋病当然有一点必须承认说，埃塞的艾滋病是挺高的。实际上是这样的吗？有这些内容的存在，但是更有可贵的一些地方。这是左边是我们埃塞的员工，是我们在非洲埃塞的员工，然后中间是我们的祖国大使馆，我们娘家人，我们在外面开疆拓土，我们破满长江，我们去尼日利亚，我们去卢旺达，我们去布鲁迪，当地使馆的娘家人都会告诉我们，在这里投资需要注意什么，在这里的话，注意韩国人，注意印度人，怎么去跟他们谈，他把一些他们在当地了解的一些情况，就说走出去的时候，我们有祖国这样一个强大的后盾。为什么我有时候自己对自己说呀，只有你自己出国之后，你才能感觉到多么爱国。因为我下面会讲我在国外怎么被人欺负的多惨。包括最上面这张图的话是卢旺达的，就类似于我们国家的发改委，整个的海关、整个的税务、整个的政治部所谓的科技部、工业部，听他们的，你跟他们所有条件跟他们谈好，就像你跟市委书记谈好了一样。其他的，我们跟他基本上就是我告诉他，我们在这里要发展 ICT 产业。非洲非常喜欢 ICT， 埃塞几次叫我们投资 ICT， 但埃塞的政策不太好。我们给他解决了8000人就业，解决了3000万美金的外汇创汇的时候，现在请原谅哥们，我不是说埃塞的不好，但我就中国投资者的角度上来说，是一个什么样的事情？就卢旺达的那个 RBD 跟我们聊完了之后，第3天晚上我们酒店就戒严，他们的总统就过来了。然后我们在非洲想再做一件什么样的事情？除了做生意以外，因为任何一个不以商业为诉求的活动行为，我觉得在国外都是不对的吧。这是我们跟尼日利亚的工业部部长，还有尼日利亚的一些科技部吧，这些都不需要太多去看。比如说我们在干这些事情，这是我们在埃塞的电视。我们在埃塞不但做电视，而且做一些相对国内比较低端的，就是可能3年前、4年前移动电源，加上什么带太阳能的移动电源，还有插座，等等等等这些电，这是我们埃塞的一些代理商。我们简单的来说，在当地干嘛呢？就是说把中国的一些低端制造业带过去。同时结合当地的需求，开发当地需求的，就是当地人真正认同的，不是把中国的简单的东西来照抄过去。这是我们的一些警卫啊，这些。简单来说，我们在那里就是工业园加当地制造，解决当地就业，为当地的就业和当地的外汇创收。这里有一张图，看得不是很清楚啊。刚才那哥们说，他们丛林里都有 WiFi， 千万别相信这鬼话。当然这只是个玩笑，就是他们丛林里除了蚊子就是猴子。对，只是个玩笑。整个埃塞的它的那个100兆的带宽，100兆的带宽，就是我们用的 RJ45啊，就是那种大概人民币约合4万每个月，他们那个用的可能是512兆的宽频的。这是他们国家，这是去年下半年的收费。然后我们现在在埃塞做一些什么事情呢？刚才我们说我们在那边卖电子产品，同时我们在提供电子产品的时候呢，刚才说过，网络他们获取资讯和那种就是影音这个内容的时候，成本是非常高昂的，所以我们在卖这个东西的同时，免费给他们充电。 像这种，它充电是要收钱的，大概2块钱一次。我们这免费给他们充电，然后有一个局域网的 WiFi， 然后的话下载我们的 APP， 这样的话，它可以去通过在这个局域网范围以内可以读取到我们里面的一些电影、音乐和一些内容，然后这样的话是免费给他们去考一些内容，就是比如说买我们的平板，它可以每个月都过来免费的考一些电影来看。这几个设备的话，我们在埃塞的这个市场叫卢旺达和埃德蒙这2个地方都有去，这是我们陆续做的一些产品，这是我们在埃塞开拓的一些情况，这是我们做的一些当地的零售的电子产品。就是在我们在做这个提供这些产品的同时，提供他们的那个叫做 ICT 的一些服务，就是说开拓这个 APP。为什么要这么做呢？工业园好造，工厂也不难，制造产品对于深圳来说，很多制造工厂都很容易。最难的事情是什么？我甚至乎我曾经大概2年前、3年前吧，我是用脚去丈量它的首都亚的斯亚贝巴这么走的。大概3年前的话，那个时候中兴投资埃塞俄比亚的这个通讯还没有完全起来，但是到去年可能3G还比较完善。现在慢慢首都附近有4G，就是说我们这个工业园是直接从一根钢铁、从一个铁钉、一包水泥全部从中国运过去，但非常难。当时当地有吗？有，但非常非常贵。就是说整个包装和埃塞，我现在了解的是大概一个国家有2家包装盒工厂，价格是中国的10倍。换句话说，这就是机会，这就是机会。我们现在在埃塞基本上有几千工人。就我们去非洲干什么呢？就我们作为80后，一定看过韦小宝说那句话：银子和女人。我们去非洲为什么？往大了说，开疆拓土，为了祖国的一带一路。再换一句话说，我们80后为了什么？我们80后在深圳，很多人买不起房，就是祖国的这一场经济发展红利，很多80后、90后是没有享受得到的。那就说去非洲，你可以体验到这个红利，你可以去享受到他们国家快速经济发展的一个红利，你可以享受到它工业跟农业的巨大的剪刀差的红利。换句话说，你在这里做制造业，你就能够享受到很多的红利。这是我基本上每2个月、3个月要去非洲一次，一次看工厂，2次看经销商，3次看新的国家，开拓新的市场，开拓新的领域。整个我们现在的布局的话，在东非、在中非、在西非。所以说，这是我们从中国广州看了亚的斯亚贝巴，然后从亚的斯亚贝巴到它的首都拉各斯，包括就尼日利亚的首都拉各斯，又去尼日利亚的那个政治首都阿加布，这样一些国家的话，就是尼日利亚给我的体验非常糟糕的一些国家。我不知道在座今天有没有尼日利亚的，不过就算在的话也没什么。我从下飞机到出海关真的花了4个小时，这不是重点，重点是说这个国家的政府，这个国家的那个非常的那种贪腐啊，就从海关到出入境到检验检疫，都对把中国人当做唐僧肉一样的全部割一刀，全部来向我们索取贿赂。所以基本上尼日利亚到进到他国家之后，就发现他的经济欣欣向荣，他的那个2亿多的人口，国家有石油，虽然说他还是跟北部战区是有一些那种战让，但整个的话，他们国家的那种经济还是非常强的。尼日利亚基本上占到了整个非洲很大一部分的经济，所以他在那种的话，一年大概有3000万部的手机是在尼日利亚销售出去的。所以要什么？就是开拓过程中咬着苦含着泪，受着伤继续去开拓。包括我们去基加利，包括去那个基加利旁边的一个国家，就是杜鲁比这样一些国家。这个就是那个埃口的，包括我们去尼日利亚的这个尼日利亚 G1实验室，就是我们不断的就是说在开拓通路的同时，开拓市场的同时，开发产品的同时也在跟当地的国家、当地的，包括我们看到那个埃口的机器人，在他们介绍的，我们这个机器人也都是他们做的。这是说非洲他们的信息制造业，他们那个科技领域嘛，并不是我们想象的那种落后的，这块有很深度可以结合的领域。 尊重但不轻视，对吧？相得益彰。这一块的话，就是我在亚利斯亚贝巴大学跟在孔子学院跟他们国家的一些优秀的学生做一些科技上的一些交流，然后一些思想上的一些碰撞，然后开发出针对在深圳开发出针对他们适合他们国家的一些需求的东西，当地人也成为很多好的朋友，然后这是。在非洲做市场有什么好处呢？就是说，本身非洲撒哈拉沙漠以南的一些国家，它整个都是就是最不发达的国家，进入欧美它是不需要关税的，进入欧美是不需要关税的。打比方，美国对我们中国的一些原产地是有配合的，你去非洲做制造是不需要的。而且的话，它整个像东南非有个贸易联盟，就 SZOIL， 你可以覆盖它周围的国家的一些市场，包括西非，它有类似于这样的一个。类似于北美经自由贸易区一样，就是说各种制造。这个是2014年、15年，就克强总理去了一下埃塞俄的工业园。然后综所上述这一句话，我们在当地做制造、做融合、做创造就业、创造外汇，所有的目的就是为了将来我们在那里先打下一个大大的江湖，做出一个什么？埃塞版的也好，中非版的也好，阿里巴巴，我们在那边的目的，甚至我们引进更多的制造业，引进更多的一些产业进入我们的园区，我们一起去开疆拓土，所有的事情都是为了能帮助中国企业，能帮助当地的 ICT 产业的发展，做了这样一个所谓的 APP 的，因为当地市场的开拓是最艰难的。风险与机会，这个就不需要太多说了。这我们在尼日利亚基本上就是每天都是要带着2个保安，这样子拿着枪。这是埃塞俄比亚这个国家非常好，就是一个君子一样的国家。但是去一些远的南部的地方，我们都是也是带着拿 AK 的兄弟们过去的。这一些视频 ，OK， 我的分享就到这里。最后愿祖国强大，也愿中华民族强大，民族制造业的强大。谢谢。
Alright, that was great. I'm getting excited about that. Up next, we have Ms. Celeste Zhang, Greater China Partnership Lead of Startup Launchpad. Thank you.
大家好 ，Hello everyone。我是这个环球资源电子展这边创客组的一个的大中华区的负责人。那我其实今天跟大家，我发现今天的主题是“一带一路”。那我也其实是想围绕这个主题跟大家来分享一些相关的创客或是创业者，或者我们叫 entrepreneur， 想要成为创业者的人，可以怎么样从“一带一路”的这个创客的这个潮流中受惠。那所以因为下午4点多嘛，我想做一个简单的调查，在座是创业者的举个手吧，或是maker举个手。有一部分想要成为创业者的举个手。也有另外一部分。那其实就是我们就今天我其实给大家带来的是2个角度，一个就是国外的创客为什么要来深圳、Hong Kong 跟这个 Bay Area， 就是我们叫珠三角区来发展。另外一个角度就是我们国内的想要成为创客或是创客，怎么样利用“一带一路”这个开疆拓土的机会，去把握这个市场跟机遇。那我先讲讲我自己的背景吧，就是我是在什么样的基础上去分享这样今天的这个 PowerPoint 呢？就是我们公司是做贸易平台做了45年的时间。那我们在我们的平台上有积累了100多万、几百万的这样子的国外的我们叫买手，或是渠道商，或是我们叫买家。这些人呢，就是几十年的时间都会来中国采购。那么我们通过跟他们不断的去接触，不断的去了解他们的需求，来迎合中国出口的这样子一个需求。那我自己在的部门就是创客组，在这个环球资源的这个机构旗下，我们开拓了一个专门服务创客企业的这个创客组。因为我们看到在深圳有很多做硬件的企业，他们有着一个产品，他们想要把自己的产品打造成一个国际的品牌。那怎么打造呢？我们创客组就做了这样子一 一个创客展来帮他们对接渠道、对接平台的一些需求。那这个是我们公司，就是我讲很多今天扣“一带一路”嘛，我就跟大家分享一下这边的一些数据，比如说其实有这样一个流动，就是中国是一个制造中心，香港是一个采购中心，所以每年的4月跟10月有很多的国际买家会来会去广州参加广交会，会来香港来采购。那这边我就从我们的这个6万多每次的这个数据里面出取了“一带一路”国家的这个买家数据。那你们其实可以看得到，从2013年，也就是“一带一路”这个政策还没有开始之前，到2015年这个政策发布，整个“一带一路”国家的买家的趋势是呈一个往上走的一个趋势的，证明说，其实在还没有这个政策之前，这个国家与中国的交流，这些国家与中国的交流就已经在旅程一个非常上涨的一个趋势，所以也是应运而生把这个政策，只是把它做得更深入。那因为前几个嘉宾都是来自“一带一路”的国家，他们也就没有太跟大家介绍“一带一路”的这个政策。那我就跟大家科普或是温故知新一下。“一带一路”呢，其实指的是 One Belt， 指的是丝绸之路，也就是从中国到中亚整个打通以前的丝绸之路，把它就根据现代的发展，把它重新打造成一个新的丝绸之路。那么 One Road 指的是海上丝绸之路，也就是去到东南亚、去到南亚，甚至去到非洲。那它其实有覆盖到了44亿人的这样，占到了全球 GDP 40%，全球60%的人都是覆盖在这个“一带一路”的这个政策范围之内的。也有65个国家会受惠。那目前参与的其实已经超过100多个国家跟地区。那其实它有几个重点的主题。他想在这65个国家之内打通几个角度：1就是政策，2就是交通，3就是贸易，4就是金融，5就是人与人之间的交流。那这些都是背景具体一些这65个国家到底包括哪一些国家我们中国可以去跟哪一些国家更实现更好的具体的合作？那我就把这个国家罗列出来在这里。我们如果往这个 map 里面去zoom，我们如果把这个地图放大，我们就会看到，其实这是中国的省份覆盖的“一带一路”的省份，重点的一些省市，比如说广东，比如说福建等等沿海的省市，内陆的也有，比如说新疆、青海等等。那我们把地图再放大一点，就来到了大湾区，整个粤港澳大湾区，包括香港、包括深圳、包括惠州等等很多不一样的城市。那这个角度其实想跟大家给大家一些数据吧。整个这个大湾区的人口是已经超过了英国、意大利，甚至就是南非超过一些国家的人口了，就是非常人口密集度很大的一个市场。那第二个呢，就是这里的进出口，这里的出口额已经超过了英国跟意大利。就是用这些比较具体的例子，让大家来感受说这个区域的潜力有多大。其实我讲这一段目的是想吸引更多 international startup、international organizations to participate in this part of the world. That's why I showcase some numbers that to show you the market potential of this region. 然后包括它这里的很多比如说疆土面积比较大 ，GDP 也是非常的高。所以这对于国际创客来深圳或是来香港发展是有非常大的机遇的。那这边的话也是一个数据嘛，就是为什么我来的话有什么便利嘛？其实有非常多的政策深圳有非常好的供应链的资源。香港呢，它的一个我自己是来自香港，所以我就拿了一些香港的数据，因为大家对深圳的数据熟悉了。那我在这里想提的一个角度就是深港可以联动。那香港是一个物流的中心，这边的数据就显示说，目前香港是全世界最大的一个货物的转运的港口。那它也是在4个小时的飞行时间内就可以概括整个亚洲的主要的一些城市。那就是因为这样子的深港联动这个便利，令到很多国外的创客可以很便利的来到这个区域发展，以及利用它的一个商业的一个潜力。那这个也是这边比如说通过这个合作，这些我们可以提供金融上的支持，香港可以作为一个专业一个服务的一个输出的中心，包括法务、包括会计、包括这个物流等等一些专业服务。那深圳呢就可以作为这个我们叫 hub， 就是一个硬件的中心，来去 支持这个国际创客的发展。那一个最具体的政策就是在落马州会建立一个落马州河套地区的一个创新的中心，在7年内，就是在2024年会建成。那在这个中心就会欢迎创客来发展，它会建立一个非常大的一个疆土，一个土地的面积来做 R&D center， 就是研发的中心，可以提供很多很好的设备和设施给国际的创客来到香港来发展。那这个就是你们国外的创客来到这边发展的一些机遇。那当然了，我刚才讲，一个是走进来，现在就要走出去。走出去的话，对于国际创客，对于我们国内的创客走去这些“一带一路”的国家，可以具体怎么做，或是有哪些机遇跟发展的一个条件跟好处在哪？那我们刚刚政府的几个政策就是 policy 政策 transportation 交通 trade 贸易 finance 金融 people 人。那其实，在每一个大的领域之下呢，都有很多商机所在的。像刚才吴先生有提到trade 就是贸易，是一个无比巨大的市场。它可以我们可以进口非洲的产品，也可以把自己的产品出口到非洲。那既然他提到，我就先从贸易这个角度讲起。进出口必然是贸易里面一个非常大的机遇。第二个呢，就是电商，因为很多现在因为地面的交通，或者是因为他们那边没有一个继承的一些店铺或是商场这样子的措施，所以电商呢其实是一个很好的一个发展的角度。第三个就是 enterprise solution， 这个叫什么呢？就是 enterprise solution 是企业级的一些商务的一些软件。为什么呢？因为像很多中国想到非洲开厂，或是中国想到东南亚开厂的这样子的一个大企业大公司，他们面临着很难本土化，他们面临着管理当地的员工等等很多招聘等等很多的一些困难在，所以去服务这些企业的一些软件或是平台就显得至关重要。那这个是贸易方面的一个角度。那我讲回第一个角度 ，transportation 交通跟一个 communication 交通跟交流吧，应该叫做。交通交流第一个角度就是物流方面。当然了，就是想当然，我如果要去到这些国家，那肯定是要有一个很好的一个很便捷的一个交通的方式。那如果跟贸易来讲，这个就叫物流，把货物从中国运输到当地，或是把当地的货品送到国内。那从这个物流里面衍生出来的呢，就是一个叫物联网，或是叫做现在大数据物流的一个方向。就是因为在中亚吧，举个例子，中亚可能它本身的一个当地的基础设施不是那么的发达，所以货物很容易不见，或是很容易丢失在运输的途中。那么呢，如果现在可以运用物联网的科技，把所有的 sensor 或是把一些物联网的技术植入到这个物流的过程当中，那么就可以在运输的过程当中实时的收回数据，就可以知道说实时的跟踪这个货物运输的情况，甚至是我可以根据我大数据收集来的这个货物的进出口的数据来分析我怎么样更精准的去做我的生产，怎么样更精准的做一个发货。所以这是一个，因为当地还没有一个很继承的系统，所以我们要用一个新的态度去建立新的模式的话是比较方便的。还有第三个角度就是 digital SZOIL growth， 像我刚才讲的，你跟当地怎么样去更好的做一个互联网，就是怎么样在网上、线上这个 digital 数字这个层面去进行好的交流，这个电信等等这些角度也是值得大家去考虑的，也是有商机的。那第三块呢，就是 finance， 就是金融了。那你要把东西建起来，你要做成一个很好的国际的项目，你必须要有资金的支持，或者是当地的人要买你的产品，必须要有一个很好的一个支付的方式。那其实我们看到，在很多第三世界国家，或是还没有那么发展的国家呢，他们手机的渗透率其实比电脑高非常多。像是在南美的一些国家，或是一些不同的就是一些相对来讲还需要再努力一点的国家，他们其实很多情况是我没有手提电脑，但是我有一部手机智能电话，所以移动支付这是一个很大的一个商机。还有当然有一些 credit， 就是比如说借贷这个方面的服务。第四个就是人呢，就是比如说刚刚我看到Victor 的一个视频，我发现我很想去 Peru， 我很想去 Peru travel， 那证明说这就是带动一个旅游的一个需求以及比如说教育，比如说可以在当地建立孔子学校教中文，或者是可以在像我们知道的有一些企业如果去越南开厂的，他们会送自己的员工去学习越南语。那这个就是关于教育方面的一个可以互相去就是 他们交流以及有一个商业的机会在。那其实就是这4个角度提供给大家参考就像刚才吴先生也讲到了，这个“一带一路”的政策就像是中国当年的改革开放，但它改革开放的是64个其他的国家，所以这是一个非常庞大的商机，应该说商机无限吧。那其实就下一个问题就是，那我该从哪里开始呢？我作为一个 startup， 或者作为一个 Chinese startup， 我是一个中国人，我可以从哪里开始？那现在我其实有很多的报告说，你可以去投资就是中东的国家，可以投资阿联酋，因为他们的可以投资捷克、匈牙利、波兰，因为他们的 GDP 跟机场的系统比较完善。但其实呢，这些国家有点远，因为我们都不太认识。所以很好的一个切入角度是东南亚，也就是海上丝绸之路。有几个原因吧。第一个原因就是东南亚的国家其实他们机场的系统跟人才的培养不错，包括像菲律宾是一个很不错的软件工程师的一个基地，然后越南。第二个就是现在已经有很多中国的企业在东南亚投资了，所以已经有一个 community， 有一个社群在，包括这些人在当地开厂，有中国人就是中国人包括内地跟台湾了、香港了，然后还有一些不同的就是各种的投资，比如房地产等等，所以在东南亚已经有一定的机场的华人的一些社区在。那如果你想在东南亚再入驻会更容易一些。第三个就是有一个华侨。很多就是广东省、浙江省的以前的华人去到东南亚创业，所以有一大华侨的网红在。那这个也是我们作为华人在当地创业的一个优势。那第4个呢，就是其实这个 ASEAN countries 这些东南亚国家也是非常的支持“一带一路”的。就比如说新加坡，它有一个银行，它就是在印尼还有不同的4个东南亚的国家设点，专门来支持“一带一路”政策下的贷款等等一些相关的金融业务。所以他们那边也是非常的支持这个“一带一路”这个政策，所以有几个大原因可以让大家尝试从东南亚这个地域上来讲，可以先从这里切入。好，那大致就是刚才讲的几个角度了，就是你可以从什么方面去获取商机，以及从哪一个地方，就是region based， 就是地区的话，应该可以从哪里去尝试。那我就讲一讲，那我们自己作为我们的一个平台，我们怎么样去服务“一带一路”。这个是我们现在在做的事情，就是我刚才有介绍，我是做创客组的服务创客。那我们到现在为止2年的时间内，有服务了650名智能硬件的创客。我们参与“一带一路”的角度，就是我们帮他们去寻找出口的商机。就像刚才讲，有6万多个来自不同区的买家，那他们都会来采购一些产品。那我们就帮助这些有创新创意电子产品的一些公司去出口。那我们目前也有差不多650个硬件创客是跟我们一起参与。那其中的一些比例可以给大家看。25%是来自深圳，49%是大约一半左右是来自国内的企业。那国内的企业之中，深圳又是占到很大的比例，所以大家应该非常的骄傲深圳是一个就是硬件之都。那其余的一半就来自港澳台跟其他非港就是其他的海外地区了。那我没有把所有的都放在这里国家会比较多。然后右边是一些韩国、台湾、英国、德国、加拿大、新加坡、美国等等的这些品牌。那这个就是我们服务创客的品类包括有一些智能类的，像是生物的，或是一些比较健康的一些 wearables 可穿戴机器人，还有一些 gadgets、accessories。以及 VR 还有互联网一些 smart home 智能家居等等这个方面的一些创客，我们希望实现一个目的，就是你可以利用一些平台，当然不一定是我们，你们可以利用一些平台去往外推广自己的产品，把中国制造变成智慧的智，而不是制造的制，就把中国的一些创新创意可以带去给国外的人都知道，就变成未来的大疆，或者变成未来的 Overjoy。对，然后这个是我们一个比较成功的创客的案例，他们每年都会来我们展会上参展，然后这个是 Make Block， 现在已经覆盖到全球几个国家，然后他们甚至还被写入了法国的教科书，所以这种就是中国硬件企业的骄傲。那他们也是出口到了很多“一带一路”相关的国家。还有一些就是其他不同的Maxis Tech 是深圳的创客，这个 Move 也是香港的创客，Audio 也是香港的创客。就我们希望能够带动这种国际的交流，把国外的创客带到深圳来，带到亚洲来，或者中国来，把中国的创客 就是简单总结一下，对于国际的创客来说，我们相信投资在深圳或是驻点到香港、深圳或是大湾区来，其实是有非常大的商业机会的。那给中国创客的或者给深圳创客一个建议，就是要充分利用“一带一路”的这个机遇来寻找，就是比如说在交通啊、trade 交易啊，就是贸易啊或者金融还有人这4个角度的，你们可以考虑的商业的一个拓展的机会。第3个就是我们10月会有一个创客展，是免费注册的，你们可以有兴趣的可以来学习或是来看看我们展会的现场，可以邀请到各位去来参观，然后可以跟一些国际的创客去互动。然后这边是我的微信，如果你们想报名的话，可以跟我联系，是免费注册。然后我们还有科技研讨会，可以让大家学习更多，就是关于科技怎么样更好创业创客的一些分享。对，然后我就结束今天的一个分享。好。
Okay, now we're going to move towards panels. So we have 2 panels today. Our first panel is going to be about maker innovation education for universities. And we have 4 speakers. If they could come up as I call them. Mr. Ray Chikai from Ethiopia for project manager of Icon Lab. If you could please take a seat. Then next we have Victor Gustavo Melendez from Peru. Lucas Druckmann, Lab Explorer Maker Tour, and Marie Lemore, Lab Explorer Maker Tour. So we have great speeches tonight, guys. Thank you. So we have a very global panel right now. It's going to be very interesting, and we get to share with everyone today. Okay, great. We got another microphone. And so we have you. First, we should talk about which places we can talk about today. What kind of you've been touring? How many? All over Asia? You're from France originally. Maybe you can talk about some of the places, some of the universities you've seen in the last, I don't know, few months.
Okay, so yes, indeed, we started our tour 6 months ago in March. So regarding the labs we located that were located in the universities, actually we noticed a lot of them in India. We spent more than 2 months in India, and we were surprised with Luca to see so many makerspaces located in those universities. And actually that kind of trend doesn't exist yet in France and in Europe. And I think that kind of trend which happened a lot in India, but also in Singapore or Taiwan, is really interesting and inspiring because first it brings a new way to learn inside universities. It provides handful and concrete ways to learn to students, and it also helps students to go beyond their ideas. We can take the example of Freedom. Freedom is a makerspace located in the University of Somalia in Mumbai, and so they are a makerspace but also an incubator. And since now, I think they develop more than 40 products launched by students themselves.
So India, it's a lot of universities, and now you're saying there are makerspaces, incubators within the university, or is it part of the educational system?
So actually, it's part of the education system. So the interesting part that we have seen in all over mostly in India, it's true, but there is a current trend in Asia, but also starting in Europe, even if it's a bit more recent in that specific area, that makerspaces are integrated in curriculum. And actually, it came naturally in areas like architecture, for example. For architects, a makerspace makes a lot of sense because they can make their prototypes very easily. So most of the university bought the machines to provide workshops. And then, being integrated in the curriculum, it started to give a lot of ideas to students. Those ideas led to startups, and hence makerspaces became incubator. And it's a bit of a mutation that is happening, as we could say. So they started to, on top of helping students to build things, they're starting to help them to build a company, looking at business models, looking at legal issues. So that's how we see the impact of makerspaces right now.
Okay, very cool. And Victor, how is it in Peru? Like we're talking on the panel today about education, the universities, and makerspace.
Yeah, in Peru, actually we have Fab Labs. No, they are located in the universities, but most of them are in the Faculty of Engineering. No, but there's also a plan of developing makerspaces in schools, no, with the Ministry of Education. But we are beginning first developing workshops with the people of the ministry. No, so they learn the concept of makerspaces. So then they can develop that at school. So first, we are teaching the people from ministry, and then Ministry of Education, minister, yeah?
Seems like religious to me.
The government? Yeah, I'm not government, yeah. I mean, the government, of education, first they learn the concept of makerspace, and after that, they teach that to the schools, and then the schools to the students. No? So we are trying to begin in the government and then go to schools. That's in terms of makerspace. But in Fab Labs, they are in the universities, in the Faculty of Engineering. Yeah, but I think we are missing something, no? That is developing these laboratories in Faculty of Education or Design or other fields. No? Why should it be engineering? Why not? And there are also incubators, no? But the incubators are not working so much with the makerspaces. That's one problem, but that's happening in Peru. Yeah, we need to connect them. We are working on that.
What kind of? There's lots of different definitions of incubator. Is it like an investment, or is it the space? Is it like subsidized space, or is it money?
It's a space. It's like the government of the one of production, the Ministry of Production. No, they developed Startup Peru. No, so they give money to startups, and these startups decide where to go, to which incubator. No, the incubator is inside a university. So they have the money and they develop their projects for 6 months. But it's not so easy because sometimes they could have a good idea, but they have to test it. They need to know about marketing. That is something that we were talking about, and that's something that is really missing in the startup world. No? They can have a good idea or they can develop a project, but if they don't communicate it, nobody will know them. So that's the thing. But there are lots of actors that need to be connected. No?
I got one more question for you. Startup Chile is so popular.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends have gone into Startup Chile because they give money to foreigners.
Yeah.
So like people from all around the world I know go to Chile to start up because the government invests in anybody from anywhere in the world. They want more people to come there. Is Peru more open to foreigners like that, or is it more like local?
Right now it's for local, no? But what I know is that they are planning to invite people from other countries to participate in Startup Peru. No? As in Chile, that anyone from any part of the world can participate. Something like that is being planned for Peru, no? But not yet, because there are some issues about visa, about a lot of government issues like the visa, the document, no? Where they are going to stay. No? Imagine they go to Peru, where are they going to live for 6 months? So there are lots of actors that have to participate. No? For example, the Ministry of Tourism. No? That's why. But the good thing is that we are understanding all the characters that have to participate. Now what we are trying to do is to connect them, no? So we can have good startups from any part of the world.
And Roy, great talk about Ethiopia. You mentioned in your presentation a little bit about the educational system, but they have competitions. That's also from the school or the government? Where is that? How is the scene of educational support with makers?
I think it's where we are starting in Africa. This concept of makers, the maker community, about the emerging technology, things like that. We are starting it with the universities. Like personally, I have traveled to 3 nations in Africa and visited more than 35 universities. And so far what I have seen is that, like Peru, we share one problem that finding the infrastructure is not easy in Africa. So for Africans, it seems like it's easier to start within the universities because the universities can provide free space. At the same time, they can provide at least used materials from their labs and things like that. No? Picture it like this. No? There is a hungry child, there is an ice cream, and there is a tiger between the hungry child and the ice cream. All the African universities are now ready for that ice cream. They want to create this maker space, maker community that can come up with products that can solve the society's problem or that are marketable. But the problem is the tiger, which is lack of infrastructure and awareness. Most of the time it's awareness nowadays because, for example, the case in Ethiopia, now the government has established an incubation area which can support at least more than 25 startups at a time. And the idea is to give them a 1-year free space, provide with internet and other infrastructures. And by the end of the year, the startup that came up with a better product will get a fund so that they can mass produce their product, and a batch will leave that place and another batch will replace them every year. Like in theory it was very perfect, and like they said, they provide the space, they provide the infrastructure, but when it comes to the launching investment, they fail to do that. So other startups were not encouraged to go to that incubation center because at the end of your project, you need an investor who is willing to invest in your product so that you can mass produce it and make it a marketable product. So this looks like the challenge in Africa, but to address your question, the education sector is open. We are linking universities in Africa in our case, and so far many of the universities are willing to give an open space at least for maker communities.
And then also, you seem to say they're very open to foreign investment, you seem to say in your speech that it seems they're open and now is the time to come to Africa. Would you say from, like Robin's speech was talking after about he had to hire locally, it seemed more difficult to import foreign goods, so you have to do everything locally, you think, like assembly. We were talking in Pakistan, the 3D printers are banned from being imported, so you have to do it locally. It seems like if you're going to invest in Africa, you have to probably also manufacture and hire locally in that market.
Well, yeah, the good thing is that we didn't ban, as far as I know, many African countries didn't ban anything about the import-export law. Plus, more than 75% of the goods are imported in Africa, which means there is a huge room for domestic, maybe small-scale industries or even big-scale industries to replace those imported goods. So, a good place will be these startups or maker communities that can manufacture marketable products for their own community. Like there is this girl, a good example. I met her in Kenya. She has this little 3D printer, and she prints mobile covers. Now, if you go to Africa, like in cities like Lagos, Nairobi, Abuja, or Addis Ababa, you will see a lot of street vendors selling mobile covers. But what this girl did was, she contacted the people in her neighborhood, asked a specific design, like printing their name, something like that, and she will print it in her 3D printer and sell it to those people. Because, like I said, on the street you can find a lot of street vendors selling these mobile covers, but now you can have your own customized mobile covers. So this is one example that there is a potential market waiting for this maker movement.
Okay, this is interesting. And maybe going back into India, would you say, or how about in Europe? What would you say? You're from France originally. How's the educational system and the maker movement or startup communities in your home country or in Europe? How would you speak about?
Just a minute.
The panel is talking about education and maker spaces and integration.
So I think I know better the maker spaces in Asia than in France, but what I can tell you now is that, so like what you said, there are a lot of universities specialized in engineering, etc., and designing that have maker spaces. But it's only, and the number of maker spaces in other kind of universities, it's only the beginning. There are really a few, and what we've noticed so far, like in Asia, which doesn't happen yet in France and in Europe, is the number of maker spaces in schools, so for lower age children. And I think it's really inspiring, because why providing maker spaces only to universities, and why not for our kids of 3 years old? And I think it should be much more expanded in France, actually.
I feel like I have a maker space in my apartment. In my house, I have a 3-year-old kid, and there's stuff everywhere. It's a maker space, I feel, and toys. But yeah, I agree. I think it's great for children to grow up with this innovation. But I mean, we talk about Make Block in some of the presentations. It's a startup here that's done really well. It's kind of like Legos for robots, which is awesome. And they're way more initiatives for children too. So interesting. So you know more about Asia than in Europe. So, because in France starts some kind of entrepreneur visa. I heard. Isn't France trying to have more entrepreneurs come to France? Like a new president.
So actually, we have two since a few years. Actually, we have an entrepreneurs visa for foreign, but so far I think it's for the European Union, if I'm not mistaken, to attract European entrepreneurs who want to set up their business in France. So from what I got, and I'm not aware of a more extensive one. We have a lot of incubators actually in Paris. We have a lot of makerspace as well. Like I think we have about 20 makerspace just in the area of Paris, which is not such a big city, but not that big in terms of numbers. So the ratio of makerspace per habitant is quite high. But the difference is that in France, a lot of makerspaces are used by hobbyists, by people who currently want just to have fun and start doing something with their hand, just because they don't do it in the office. So, and I think this is like something very different versus what we observe in Asia. Like most of the makerspaces, we saw people were coming because they want to build a project, solve an issue they have. And we didn't see a lot of hobbyists. And also a big difference is that most of the people we saw in makerspaces in like extended Asia, let's say. The trend is true from Iran to China, that the average age of the population of the makers is very young. It's like between around 20 years old. If you go in France, it's much older. Right? People are more like above 30. They have jobs, they just want to like have fun, start to do something, and so I think there is really a cultural difference regarding the users of makerspaces between Europe and Asia. So that's true.
I want to kind of go into South America. How about the age? What did you say about the average age?
Age is similar. It's because most of the makers that go to these places are young. There are students like 20 or 18 years old to 35. No? So that's the average of people. No? And most of them are engineers, designers, and architects. No? And now about the products that they do as business, most of them are for merchandising. So I mean, there are different types of people that go there. No? The ones that want to learn how to use the machines, or the ones that want to make a business, for example. No? But if they make a business, most of them are related to merchandising, or for example, to making projects for museums, or for example, making a scenario, no? Like design or furniture. No? But what we don't have yet is, for example, people that want to make, I know, a computer, a laptop, or a speaker, or something like this. No? I mean, we don't do that yet, but that's what I think we need. And another issue is that most of the people that go to these spaces, well, to incubators actually, they like to develop apps. No? But it's like maybe they don't know how to make a product. So there's some things that are missing, no? Especially how to design something.
Yeah, I think from what I understand, you have very artistic people in Peru. Your pictures you showed of those little like statues. And,
yeah, I mean they like to do that, but it's like sculpture, no? Because it's like you do it once or twice. But the idea, I mean, if he wants to make like 1 million of those, I mean, how? That's something that we still need to learn, and that's why they have to travel. I mean, they should come here or to other countries to see how to make something industrial. But yeah, but the good thing is that we are learning, no? And that is changing now.
Yeah. And then your talk, you were saying everybody had, there was people surrounding from the the apartments. What would you say is an average age of people really getting involved with the makers?
It's the same like. It's all about young students between the age of 13 to 23, 24. We have like these two kind of maker community within the education system, the one in the universities and the one in the high schools. Most of them are engaged. And when it comes to the adults, I mean the more older people, they are very interested, at least to watch what's happening there, how the people are making these things. Because the thing in Africa is that these maker communities are building something that can be used as a problem solver, mostly. It's not for fun or for the pursuit of knowledge. Mostly from my experience, the maker community wants to build either an application or a hardware that can be used in an actual world as a problem solver. In fact, let me tell you a funny story. I go to Lagos, in the University of Lagos there. I proposed this idea about the Makers Initiative, connecting African universities, creating a maker community within the African universities. He accepted the idea, he liked it, everything. Then finally he said, what will be the glue? At least something that can connect us annually. Then I told him, we have this robo-soccer competition. Because of that, we can communicate annually. Students will come with the projects, robots will play soccer. He looked at me and he says, it's like selling black powder to black people. It will not work. And I asked why, and he says, it's because the universities or the governments will not consider it as a serious project. Because for Africa, making your robot playing soccer is not an issue. Then I explained to him that it's not about making your robot playing soccer. It's about knowing how to do that. Because by the time a student makes his robot play soccer, he will understand the science of image processing, the science of localization, the science of communication between two agents, the science of embedded system, and many other technicalities. So, to answer your question, the age group is similar. It's between 20 to 23 in the universities and between 30 to 18 in the high schools. The motivation is different from France. It's not for fun. It's actually to come up with some products.
Seems like we have hobbyists, artists, and people that can make money.
Not just money, just solve your problem. For example, a farmer will ask you, instead of making your robot play soccer, why don't you make a robot that can tweak out weeds from my farm? So students will come to our lab, they will ask us, how can we build this robot that can tweak out weeds from a farm?
Maybe make a robot competition. Which one can take out more than the other?
Yeah, now we're thinking like that now. We're going to ask which are the predominant problems in a certain area nearby a university. Then we are planning to launch a competition regarding that certain problem in that certain university.
Okay. Also, if an audience has a question, we can take audience questions too, if you want. So I'm wondering, I'm thinking here of exchange programs and interns. I get a lot of emails on my blog about students that will, or universities that want to send students to China to learn about China. Is that happening where you're seeing, in your countries or your markets you're studying?
Well, actually now there's a group of students in one university that is tech, that there was a competition of wearables in space. No? So the winners are planning to come to Shenzhen. And this team is the teacher and also the students. No? So they are the first, I think, in the entire story of Peru, it's the first team of teacher and students that is coming to Shenzhen in order to make the product, which is good. No? And also, this university wants to bring, for example, people from the banks and mining, something we were talking about, because they want to understand this ecosystem, no? Of making, of developing products. No? So yeah, there's interest.
When you were talking about exchange programs, so I haven't heard so far of exchange programs between France and China, but there is one group named Vulca. They've just launched a European program of exchange between makerspaces in Europe. And it's quite new, and I think it shouldn't be restricted to Europe. The next steps could be between Europe and China, Europe and Asia, etc. It's a first step that can be, I'm very optimistic regarding that.
Okay, how are we doing on time? Is Vicky here? If there's the audience questions, we're welcome to audience. I would love to hear. Oh, there's a question.
Hi, thank you so much for your sharing, and I'm so excited that this summit is hosted in my small village, which I'm going on. And my name is May, and I'm from one of the international school in Hong Kong. So my focus is in primary school. So do you have any suggestions that if you have children in primary school, how would you nurture the maker mindset and innovation of the younger student? And one more question is, what is your expectation for the maker education in the future? Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, May. Great. Thank you, May. So it was two questions. I think You guys got it? Okay.
I can say something about the first question because we have this project called ICOG Academy. It's only for kids less than 7 or 8 years. So they're basically kindergarten students. So what we have started is on the programming part, we use a software called Scratch. If you know Scratch, yeah. It's a kind of software in which little kids can program by dragging and dropping so they can understand the logic, the function, the loop, all these coding aspects. And when it comes to the hardware, we use these small Lego-like materials that are called Makey boards, things like that. You know? And we just let them in a room, and some of them try to make their own shorts, cartoon animation film using this Scratch program. Some of them try to build toys like houses, guns, and things like that. So what I recommend is if you have something similar in China with this Scratch language. Yes. So this is our experience in Ethiopia. If you can add something to it.
3 weeks ago, we were in Hong Kong with Lucas, and we met Monica. It's a Hong Kong woman, and she created Blue Inno. Maybe you've heard of her. And her job is to organize a workshop for kids. And so we met her. She's really interesting. She launched that after her first child, actually. And her objective is to learn while doing. To teach to teach robotics, coding, hardware, etc. to the kids, and she also launched kids and parents workshops. Okay.
I was going to say something. There are, for example, different activities from FabLab. They have the SZOIL. It's a new platform they are developing, so people from all the world are uploading workshops about making for kids. And also you can find, for example, FabLearn, that is from Stanford, and that's another group, or Make, that's another group, because they have actually you can find a lot of groups where you can learn about making for kids. And maybe you can make a workshop including not only kids but also parents and teachers. So like a hackathon, but instead of hackathon, it could be like ideathon or schoolathon or however you want to call it, so that you can think about mindset. A workshop about mindset, about tools, about space, and also about the activities that you can make in the maker space. So maybe you can join all of them and find new answers for your questions about education.
I know there was a second question, but we're almost a little bit over time, so maybe if anyone wants to add to anything else or that. Okay, thank you so much. Our second and final session, panel session for today, we have 3 people contributing. Athar Osama, PhD from member of Science, Technology, and Pledge Commission in Pakistan. Robin Wu, CEO of MegoPad, and Celeste Joan from Startup Launchpad. While Robin comes, I think he's coming right now. So this session is topic about maker innovation entrepreneurship ecosystem. So you guys were sharing about the ecosystem entrepreneurship, and we have representation from different markets. Thank you, Robin. So this is a huge topic, so there's so many questions, but maybe what we can do is maybe give a high level understanding of how things are in the markets that you're in. So Athar, you talked a lot about Pakistan market. What would you say right now is how the entrepreneurship ecosystem? I know you were talking about the maker movement from the 70s and 80s was big, and then it kind of took a dip, but it's coming back now. How do you feel the current market in innovation and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I think Pakistan over the last 5 or so years have really developed a lot of energy within the entrepreneurship innovation ecosystem. I think we are pretty much on the verge of taking off. There are several companies from Pakistan that have gone global, although we don't yet have a unicorn of our own, but we would probably soon have. And I think a couple of things that are missing in Pakistan, and this is something that we in the government are working on, is one, the creation of a startup venture capital system. Over the last few years, there's been a lot of increase in seed round funding of local startups, but we still haven't gotten a larger scale Series A, Series B round fundings from the local venture community. So there's sort of an angel seed community in Pakistan now that is developing, but not a venture community still. Some of the companies in Pakistan that have gotten funded at the seed A level have gotten funded from abroad. We in the government are in the process of launching a major startup initiative that would have a publicly funded venture capital program as well, and so we hope to, over the next few years, address that gap. We are also planning to work with the Pakistani stock market to make sure that there are more exit opportunities for startups, so to create a dedicated small stocks market in Pakistan. And also the government is investing a lot within the research and innovation system to try to prepare Pakistan for the fourth industrial revolution, as well as to opening up due to OBO and CPEC, which are the two major initiatives.
All right. So Robin, you're obviously from China, but you've become more and more experienced in Africa. Would you say, would you want to talk about how Chinese innovation, how you've seen Chinese innovation growing, or would you want to talk about Africa on this panel? Or maybe what have you seen with innovation in China and Africa over the time you've been involved with it? Clear, I can read state.
谢谢。关于创新创客，中国企业在深圳也好，在非洲也好，其实我自己一直个人的心得，我想说2点啊。首先，深圳的创业氛围，我认为就跟深圳的房价一样，没事别去创业。深圳的创业2句话，单纯靠制造业的创业的时代已经过去了，单纯的靠硬件创业的时代已经过去了。百花齐放的时候，开个工厂、弄个作坊就能挣钱的时代已经过去了。所以说，这是我对就是在深圳的一些创业群体的一些个人的心得与想法。但是说，作为草根阶层的奋斗崛起，作为我们80后也好，90后也罢，就是说我们的那种精神不能泯灭。就说去非洲来说，毛主席说过，世界是我们的，但也是你们的，但归根到底还是我们的。就是说，深圳作为一个最有活力、最有创造力、最有潜力的一个80后、90后群体，不能只看到深圳，我们要看到天下，看到世界，看到我们能走出去。就是说，我们作为优秀的一些科技工作者，作为一些非常有热血的一些青年，要多走向广泛的亚非拉世界，你会发现那里得到的收获也得到的收益，并没有像深圳这么艰难。要创业，深圳的群体去非洲创业。至于说非洲的那个创业的生态范围，我想说的话，真的不难。 普遍非洲的一些群体吧，他们要去创业的话，只要说就像中国80年代、90年代，你思想活络一点，你敢于积极的、勇于的去开创一些，哪怕说你站到街上去卖一些、做一些小生意，你能得到的创业的收获和带来的机会，都远远高于就是说只单的，因为太多的非洲的群体的话，都是在就是还是属于农耕甚至游牧，或者说是还是属于打猎的那个时代，所以去那边，我想说的是，广泛的、年轻的创客群体要把眼光放在全世界。其二，我们去非洲创业的话，会比我们在国内成功的容易的多得多得多。好，谢谢各位。
I mean, I'm happy to hear in Chinese about accepting failure. I think when I was first here 10 years ago, Chinese were so afraid to start a company. It was very rare when I was first here to do their own business. Their families, the people around them would not support them to start their own company. But the beautiful thing about Shenzhen is it's an entrepreneur city, and that's why I like Shenzhen. And it's great now to see people like you growing and sharing and encouraging people to start up and saying it's okay to fail. Because I think, especially in China, a lot of times there's a space problem about losing face for yourself, losing face for your family. So I really am happy to hear you to say that and to support entrepreneurs. So thank you for that, Rob.
我想说一下，就是我刚才说的，并不是说不要去创业，前提是忘记了硬件的创业，忘记制造业的创业，然后的话还要忘记这种各种各样的会议，忘记自己的创客，忘记政府，忘记媒体，忘记所有的投资人，低下头说着稳吧。然后的话就是说保持一颗敬畏之心的奋斗的精神，这样去创业才是永不泯灭的。
And Celeste, she doesn't need one of these, so it's great. She's very great English and Chinese. So you're from Hong Kong? So you came in from Hong Kong for today's conference, and we see each other both sides of the border often at these conferences. So in your presentation you're talking about Invest HK, and you're talking about Shenzhen opportunities, the Greater Bay Area. How do you think of the overall scene for entrepreneurs, with these borders and with this massive they're calling it Greater Bay now. I think the tricky part is where should a startup in Greater Bay even position themselves? I think it's close, but it's still far, I don't know how you feel, where, you're saying in Hong Kong there's the transportation, there's finance, there's I think tourism and another one. How can startups decide where in the Greater Bay to position themselves?
So it's a Greater Bay for a reason, right? So if it's all the same, then there's no point of collaboration. So the reason, the way we see how startups, especially when they're from foreign countries, like overseas startups, how they come to this part of the world, is usually they use Hong Kong as a stepping stone, and through Hong Kong they get into further into China, to Shenzhen, to Huizhou, to Dongguan, to different places. So Hong Kong naturally has been an open city where it has established the legal services, accounting services, and a lot of different other services, and it's more protected in terms of intellectual property, which is IP. And so a lot of startups, especially in IoT or hardware, they want themselves to be protected, so they will usually set up an office in Hong Kong first, and then using Hong Kong as a stepping stone after they get better understanding of this region. They're going to starting to get in touch with Shenzhen, they're going to be traveling frequently at the early stage, then they're going to eventually set up an office or a company in Shenzhen permanently. This is how we see. So I also told one of the journalists today that take one of the Canadian startup Nanoleaf as example. They moved all their operations here to this Bay Area because they see potentials for the fast time to market, but they have offices both in Hong Kong and Shenzhen to make sense, right? Because different cities provide different services. And the facilities that Shenzhen can provide, actually, maybe in 5 years down the road, Dongguan can do the same, Guizhou can do the same. So it's actually the whole Bay Area is becoming more collaborated on supporting startups, and all have their different strengths, and that's why I believe the Bay Area in the future will become the same city.
Yeah, I agree. I'm right at the border too, so I'm trying to bridge both because there's a positive and negative on both sides. Like you said, there's differences for a reason, there's greater people for a reason. So back to Pakistan. Your second time here in Shenzhen in the last 3 months. You were talking, and it was your first trip 3 months ago. So you're coming back second time. What's your plan or what's your thinking so far coming here?
So, I was quite excited when I came here last time. I think Shenzhen offers opportunities like no other place on the planet, particularly for hardware startups that we do come across in Pakistan. And most of them, while they can come up with the idea and design a business plan in Pakistan, they have to get something manufactured somewhere. And because we don't have that well-developed facilities for manufacturing, most of them enter into a long-distance relationship with the Chinese manufacturer. So what I'm interested in exploring is how do you formalize this relationship? Perhaps create an outpost for a startup initiative in Pakistan, in Shenzhen, so that we can routinely route our hardware companies and startups to a formal entity here in Shenzhen, so that they can actually work with them to develop and design some of those capabilities. So I think we are pretty excited both by the possibility of this hardware ecosystem in Shenzhen, but also the greater opening up of China through the CPEC, the Chinese-Pakistan Economic Corridor, as well as hopefully globally through the ROBO initiative, and look forward to participating in that.
Great, yeah. So if people have ideas for helping him, he wants to come here more, and he's looking for more ways to meet more suppliers to help his would you say it's entrepreneurs, or would you say it's established companies? Which kind of level of companies are interested?
Well, mostly entrepreneurs for now, but I think there is need for greater business-to-business linkages between Pakistan and China. Obviously, the government linkages are very strong, but with CPEC and the opening up of trade between Pakistan and China, we are also in the process of setting up 9 industrial zones in Pakistan where Chinese-Pakistan companies would be able to establish joint ventures, and we will be able to migrate some of the Chinese industry back to Pakistan. And so I think for all that to happen, we need to have a much stronger business-to-business linkages between Pakistan and China. And I think this is something that I'm really interested in, and we can start from here.
All right. So let's talk about, back to Robin. What are some ways maybe Shenzhen or the innovation here can get to the next level? Or I agree with you, it's been growing so fast. Is it continue to grow at this rate, do you think? Or what's the future for innovation here in Shenzhen or in China?
深圳的创新有什么未来？中国的创新有什么未来？这个话题比较大。我觉得以我这样一个时代的弄潮儿或者一个科技的开发者去回答，有点难。我只说吧，以美国为例，美国的话，大概2战之后，其实还没有占领全世界的科技的最高峰。然后的话，到了阿波罗登月之后，美国整个科技就是在各种领域基本上走到了世界的最巅峰。中国还有很长的路要走，中国还有很多的领域需要去赶超，需要去超越。至于说深圳能给我们国内的体系或者科技的带来什么东西，我认为始终都是一样看待的。无论是当初的创客，还是说所谓的3战，就是一种精神， 就深圳的那种活力、创造力和叫做孜孜以求、不断开创、不断奔跑的一种精神然后整个的话，现在深圳的这种创客的氛围，这种不断创新的这种氛围，这种政府的支持，这种资金的辅助，这种 VC 的领域的那种热捧，让真正的有才华的、有技术、有能干的这样的一些优秀的群体脱颖而出。我觉得这样就是一种生态，类似于美国的这样一种氛围一样。才会说不断的去推陈出新，然后我们再加上国家的一些产业基金的支持，让在各个领域的话，能不断的去开枝散叶、开花结果。总体来说吧，就是2025年，中国在整个装备制造业、在高科技的 IT 制造业领域的话，我们将会取得非凡的成就。深圳在这个体系的话，将在整个国家的战略层面的话，将以一个非常重要的一个地位。然后还是回到那句话，在于我们不断的创新，是我想说的，就是说深圳对中国的科技创新能带来什么东西？就是说整个到2025年的时候，我们可以给到我们国家。简单来说，比如手机，那我们的芯片、我们的屏、我们的龙组件可以不再需要被高通控制，我们的 DDR Flash 不再需要被韩国高丽帮来控制，我们的屏已经现在京东方已经整个的话，我们屏占到了全球的40%左右的份额。以后过的这些年，然后在于我们这些人去把在这些领域不断的去进去，不断的去占领这样的份额，可以去赢得日本、赢得韩国攻占，最终赢得在2025年左右操控，这是我和我们国家和我们民族共同的愿景。
Okay. Should I buy real estate? Is it going to go higher? I keep waiting. I don't know. I keep waiting to buy real estate here. It keeps going higher. But great. And we're past, but I think we're going to take some questions. But for Celeste, you were talking about Lok Mau Chau. I live nearby there. I'm excited about this. Can you explain a little bit more about this trade zone? Is it different? There's other trade zones actually, like even this Finnish park has one in the free trade zone now in Putian. I'm also curious about it.
So that Lok Mau Chau Innovation Center was supposed to meant for technology. So the free trade zones are open for any industry. You could leverage the tax benefits, leverage the services the government provided in the free trade zone. So different from the previous free trade zone, that zone is for innovation, for R&D. And in terms of the territory, in terms of the size of the land, it was huge. And government gonna use a lot of financial surplus to build this trade zone, and it was in one of the government's top plans. So it's meant for nurturing innovation and for R&D. So that's the difference between that zone and other zones. And also that will be encouraging more and more closely collaboration between R&D side and innovation side between Shenzhen and Hong Kong. So before it's all, I come here, you go there. That zone was owned by both, and then that's not meant to be. Everybody can come and share this area, and then let's do things together.
Great. Is there questions from the audience? We're about at time. I know it's been a long afternoon. For me, it's been amazing that people around the world here sharing for today's special conference. Thank you all for coming and spending your time with us today. Ray?
My question is possible for both three of you. Now, speaking of entrepreneurship and investors, I had a question. For example, in Africa, like I said, there is a market, there is a demand, and probably there will be these makers and innovators that will come up with products. But the big question will be, do you have a platform for investors who can invest to a product, a prototype from Africa into mass production, and then it can be sold within the African market? Because, like I said, it was created to solve some problem in Africa, and obviously the market will be in Africa. So do you have a platform or something like that? Thank you very much.
我觉得我来回答这个问题，在这个事情过了。其实你想，就是 just as， 也是我在想。只是说戴维李先生他还没有回来，我跟他这次回来很重要的一个议题，就是要把你刚才所说的非洲的想象、创造与科技的这一块，把它由产品化，通过我们在埃塞本土的制造，让它进入商品化，与你们共同来合作，就是从你们的 IP 到我们的供应链，到我们的技能，到我们在埃塞本土的制造，跟你们相得益彰，相互结合，这是我们这次回来需要非常重要的一件事情，也必须想去完成的一件事情。我希望的话，接下来可以跟戴维李先生或者我们的新的在科技园的办公室，可以把这个事情着重交流一下。我们会继续扩大在埃塞俄比亚的投资，就是刚才你那种国际和思路，结合非洲当地的那种理念 IP， 然后再结合中国的制造，再反哺中国的一些技能的一些教育，跟你们共同去分享。我这样说的是两件事情，一个是你们的创意，我们把它商品化；其二，我们把技能、把教育、把培训分享给埃塞俄比亚的国家。
I also want to add on to Robin's point. So from us, so we contact we have a lot of clients, and they are all factories, manufacturers, or brand owners in Shenzhen or different parts of China. So we have some team called China Invest Match. We select a bunch of Chinese manufacturers who have extra cash, who are looking to innovate, looking into investing in innovation projects. Either it could be IoT, or something else. So that's the team that we currently have for the structure of the platform that you were mentioning. That's currently ready. But a lot of the times we face the question saying, what can I get out of this investment? Because once they invest in, they're supposed to help you with manufacturing. But what about the sales? What about distribution, right? Can you also help me with the distribution in African markets? You guarantee me after I help you finish this product, my product, which we build all this IP, we build all this product, gonna be selling in African markets? If you can solve this marketing issues or distribution issues towards the very end, I believe that can be a lot of opportunities for you guys. And I'm happy to make a bridge. I'm happy to connect you with our China investing. But as I mentioned, the key point is what about after the investment? Yeah.
Other questions? 有问题吗？ Okay, I know we're all tired, but I think it was a great day. So I think we'll close at this today. Thank you all for coming.